Welcome to Truth UnCompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by sourcevibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I will always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth, where time does not exist, and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is November 21st. We have a great show planned for you. We are continuing with our series, The Real Pilgrams, The True Story of Immigrants Coming to America, Part 6. Before I go into the recap, just wanted to make mention of the song that I played. I know it was a long one, y'all, but it's called Zombie, and it's by an artist. He's transitioned. He's an artist from the 70s out of Nigeria called Fela Kuti, and he was literally a political activist with his music. So that particular song, Zombie, he was kind of going in on the soldiers that were carrying out the orders of the elite as the people are being suppressed. And I just want to make mention and just remind the family when we were doing our research on the interesting thing with Nigeria and how Nigeria was set up as a American colony, and actually it was, of course, a joint venture between America, the Brits. I can't remember if it was the Dutch. I think it was that West Indian company, but they were trying to ship indigenous melanated people from the Americas over to Nigeria. That was also one of the areas. So, Nigeria became a British colony, which is not surprising. So out of all of that, this artist, Fela Kuti, put out music in the 70s kind of blasting the power structure. And it said that he came from an upper middle class family. So just want to give some background on that particular music selection. All of his music that I've heard, every last one of it, brilliantly done from an instrumental perspective, and each one of his songs have a particular meaning. So, shout out to Fela Kuti for putting out great music that still lives on. All right, family. So with that said, we're going to pick back up where we left off. The two main references for this series, we have White Trash, the 400-year untold history of class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. And then we have They Were White and They Were Slaves, the untold history of the enslavement of whites in early America by Michael A. Hoffman II. I do real quick want to send a shout out to my chat room as well. Y'all really be throwing down. So shout out to Scotty Saturn, GD Thompson, 42, Mons Lydia, and then Anthony Owens. When Purple Pill joins us, I'll send a shout out to him as well. But Purple Pill, a couple of weeks, dropped other references in the chat room that you can use as well on this topic of white slavery in the Americas. So I'm just going to read through this list so you can feel free to pick up some of these publications or research them as well as supplemental material to this topic. Redneck Manifesto, How Hillbillies, Hick, and White Trash Became America's Scapegoat. That actually sounds good. To Hell or Barbados, The Ethnic Cleansing of Ireland by Sean O'Callaghan. The Lost German Slave Girl. And actually, some of the pictures that I use for the promo, it's probably the same little girl that they're talking about. But anyway, The Lost German Slave Girl, The Extraordinary True Story of Sally Miller and Her Fight by John Bailey. White Slavery, Color Isn't the Issue by Michael K. Jones. White Gold, The Extraordinary Story of Thomas Pellow. I don't know if that's Pellow or Fellow, excuse me, in my sloppy writing family. And North Africa. So that's White Gold, The Extraordinary Story of Thomas Pellow and North Africa. 1 million European slaves. So shout out again to Purple Pill, who's in the chat room. He did give me that information in the chat room a couple of weeks ago. So I wanted to share it with the family as well for your supplement material. So I'm going to bring on my co-host, Let me bring on Sis Sandra. Sean's going to join us in about 15 minutes or so. So let me bring on Sis. Peace and love, Sis. How are you?
Oh, peace and love, Sister Rhonda. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to hear your voice.
Thank you. And it's good to hear yours, too. And Brother Sean, I'll say hi to him when he gets here. And to the family, I say hello.
All right. Okay, so, sis, I haven't heard, well, you know our God Logic by Authority, the YouTube channel. I highly recommend his channel. He's been doing a phenomenal job. He was literally watching the satellite feeds and showing where explosions were going off in California. And then between 12 and 24 hours, that same area, the wildfires were breaking out. So now he's tracking some big storm out in Cali, and you look at the satellite view of it, and it's moving counterclockwise, and it's just sitting there. So he showed on the satellite feed how the storm came in from the west, and then part of the storm broke off and started moving east, and then the one part is just sitting over Cali, going counterclockwise. So, you know, you're our Cali correspondent, so we just need to check an update on what's going on.
That was yesterday. We had that storm yesterday. It dumped on us, and some snow as well in the mountains. It was a convergence of a storm that was coming from the east and the west, and it was going counterclockwise because they were coming together. And so it wasn't as potent, I think, as it could have been. I don't know if there's man-made manipulation of the weather. It was a nice change. It was a nice change from the dry, because they didn't put us in dry for many, many years. So yeah. So it's not too bad when it's something like rain coming in, just as long as it don't flood us out.
Because he was saying that they were predicting some areas were going to have flash flooding.
I think that was San Diego. San Diego was heavy weather down there and stuff. But as far as my place is almost drier than a bone most of the time. And so, but LA and those kind of people, they get the rain. But every time they have burns and all that kind of stuff, they got to bring in the rain to make it really plausible. Why burn something?
Good point.
If you don't bring in the rain to make people lose money, because it's no good if people don't lose money. I mean, you're wasting all that technology you have. But most of this stuff, I believe, is a cover-up. All of this stuff is going down at the time they're trying to take Trump down. Because Trump is their nemesis, and he's about to break their backs. And they're also doing things in the world that's really, attacks on Syria and all kinds of stuff, I understand. And so they have to make some kind of cover-up so the American people is going to be glued to that stupid TV. So, that's their whole agenda, is to make sure that everybody is dumb and dumbed down.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And I even see the whole Trump thing as yet another form of distraction. Sure, he's a thorn in their side, whatever. But even that, to me, is a distraction at the end of the day.
Exactly. His job is to, get rid of the riffraff in this country and keep this country on track. And they making it sound like, I believe, I heard, somebody told me. I'm like, Break. And you know they gotta have one big liar to come in there and make it look good.
Right.
So,
right.
And they're doing all that. It's like a drama, and people are.
It is, and they hold the Oscars every year. Shit, I think a lot of the false flag events, politicians, they asses need to be in a particular category because that's all they know how to do is put on a show. At the end,
and look at all the shootouts they've been having. Every time they do this kind of stuff, these weather patterns, they have these shootouts. People killing up 4 and 5 in the house and going in the backyard and killing out people that was watching football games. All kinds of stupid stuff is going on. California is really having a shootout going down with people. Halloween shootout.
It's interesting, and forgive me, I cannot think of the YouTube channel. I'll get it for you all. But the last shooting that happened up in California, somebody posted where it was a what do you call it? A drill. I can't remember the name of it, to be honest, because I mean it's always something, so I don't even keep that close up with it. But this particular gentleman, and I'll have to get it for you, and they probably didn't snatch the video down because he tried to put it up like 3 times and YouTube snatched it down, so he had to tell people to click the link in the description to go to another site to break down what he was trying to break down. And bottom line is, he showed where that particular high school had a drill.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was last year, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But
It was Saugus.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the smoking gun on it was that before the event happened, they had already put up some type of either charity webpage or greeting webpage, like 30 minutes or 2 hours before the actual event happened. So, that's why me personally, I have to look at all of these supposed news events side-eye.
Yeah, they side stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. There.
And they have no path, quiet people all of a sudden shooting up folks, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because it's gun control. It's gun control. At the end of the day, they've been trying to get the guns out of, quote, quote, Americans' hands for quite some time now, and it's just not going to happen. Americans are not going to give up their guns. So I look at everything in the mainstream media with side eye, because as they're trying to get me to pay attention to one thing, I know something's going on that really be paid attention to. So I'm like, oh well, whatever. So
it's all for the entertainment, it's just like the slavery issue. All that stuff is all fake. Even Green say they have to rethink that slavery stuff because it's not true.
Oh yeah, I bet they do. I bet they do. And shout out to melanated people, period, in the Americas, because they did not go see that Harriet Tubman movie. It bombed.
Really?
They did not go. It did not do well at all.
I wouldn't.
So, no, hell no, I'm not going. I'm not watching it on Netflix. Anybody on demand. I don't mess with slavery movies. I don't do it. I do. I didn't see 12 Years as a Slave. None of that.
Did I.
Ever since that Roots thing, when, I was a young girl and they pushed that motherfucking Roots stuff on us, and then turned around and had us coming in the next day writing book reports on the bullshit. Then I find out it was plagiarized. It was a false, fake-ass story. You'll never get me to watch another slave movie. Not fucking interested. Because it's a bunch of garbage. So, okay. So did you have any go ahead on with the fuckery, sis, before I get into some stuff?
I think I just did it.
Okay, I thought so. I just didn't want to cut you off just in case. Okay, family. So I have, let me see. Last week I was trying to find the black kilt stuff. Mm-hmm. So it was in that article. I just wasn't being patient enough. But here's the thing on the black kilt. And I was sharing, if you didn't join us last week, that I was sitting down thinking, and all of a sudden it popped in my head that you had several entertainers that rock the kilt, the Scottish one, the Irish one. So Puffy did it, Snoop Dogg did it, Andre 3000 did it. He had a Scottish one, and he said jokingly, well, they said he said jokingly that he had Scottish heritage. So they thought he was joking. I don't fucking particularly believe he was joking. He just know his heritage. Jermaine Jackson did it. Al Roker did it. And a couple of other celebrities. So I thought about, too, when some of the celebrities were coming out wearing, like, the black skirt with the black pants. And I'm like, you know what? I wonder if that is really a kilt. I wonder if there was solid color kilts. And sure enough, there is. So here's the one on the black one. Perhaps the most famous 19th century figure to sport the solid kilt is Queen Victoria's own John Brown. He was quite famous for wearing the solid black kilt suit, complete with matching vest and jacket. Artist Kenneth McLay included him in such an outfit in his collection of portraits of royal retainers in 1870. Shortly after Brown's death in 1883, Queen Victoria commissioned a life-size portrait of Carl Rudolph Soane, which also shows him in a black kilt suit. I have seen at least one Highland dress outfitted today market a solid black kilt, vest, jacket, and a horse as John Brown outfit. Okay, so just to give you some backfield, that if you see, you know, somebody, particularly melanated men, in a black skirt, and I've seen it all the time, be leather, and they wear like black leather pants up under it, whatever, more than likely they're representing their European heritage. All right, so that's that follow-up. Now, once again, I'm minding my business. CBS Sunday Morning. So here's what pops up. It was a woman named Renee Powell who was being honored by Scotland's first golf society. Okay, so golf originated in Scotland. Okay, so remember when we did the Black Nobility series, we kind of told you who the Scots are, the different black royals, and how a lot of the melanated people in the Americas have that particular European heritage as well. Okay, so all of these surnames that are carried by the melanated people, we were told a lie that they were the slave names, the masters. Your family was enslaved, and those names came from the masters. Now, I do have to give a shout out to folks that study under the Moorish teachings, because they did say that those surnames belong to the melanated people. It wasn't the other way around. And based on our research, they are absolutely right. All right. So this Renee Powell is a professional PGA golfer and toured with Billie Jean King back in the day, but did not get the recognition because she is, quote, quote, black. She grew up in Ohio, where she was also not recognized for her talent. Her father, William Powell, built the first ever golf course in Clearview, Ohio. Okay, so here we go. Let's break all of this down. Scotland was ruled by melanated black royals. So melanated folks invented golf because golf originated in Scotland. Now let's break this down even more. Okay, so Renee Powell grew up in Ohio. Ohio has a city named Powell, Ohio, which is close to Dublin, Ohio. Remember we told you Dublin means black. Her father's first name is William, and you do a little research on the origins of that name, William. It ties back to William the Conqueror of England, who was also a black royal. All right, so here's just a little bit more facts. If, anyone carries that Powell surname, the surname Powell was first found in Breconshire or Welsh, a traditional county in southern Wales, which takes its name from the Welsh kingdom of Brychenog. This is between the 5th and 10th century, where the name are descended from Philip Howell, so Howell, whose pedigree is traced to Edwin Grono, Lord Gange, founder of the noble tribe of North Wales and Powys, so Powys. However, other records claim the name came from Welsh King Howell the Good, from 880 century to 950. Okay, so some of the early notables of the Powell family, pre-1700s, prominent amongst the family during the late Middle Ages was Thomas Powell, a Welsh cleric and writer from Breconshire, Sir William Powell, first baronet, 1624 to 1680, born William Henson, an English politician who sat in the House of Commons in 1660, William Powell. So see how these surnames keep transferring, even the first name, because William Powell is this woman, Renee Powell's father's name. That's his exact name. So the melanated man who started the first melanated golf course in Clearview, Ohio. So that's just very interesting to me. So William Powell, out in 1637, was an esquire of Castle, it looks like Madoc to me. It is Madoc or Madoc. Okay, and I'm not going to read through all of these. All right, so what else? The Welsh migration to North America in the 19th and early 20th century contributed greatly to its rapid development. These migrants were in search of land, work, and freedom. Those Welsh families that survived the long ocean journey were critical to the development of new industries and factories and to the quick settlement of land, which would make sense why today some of these names carry throughout the Americas as well. So you have the indigenous names that carry, as well as the European surnames. So all the while we were thinking those European surnames belong to quote, quote, Caucasian Americans, when they really belong to melanated Europeans. All right. So, in conclusion, I just wanted to say that it is not an accident that Scotland would honor one of their own. So, I'm going back to Renee Powell being honored by Scotland's Goth Society. So, it's not an accident that they would honor one of their own, because based on her surname, her heritage ties back to Scotland. And then I also added that it is not an accident that Renee and William Powell had a love for golf. And it is not an accident that their last name, Powell, has a city named after it, which is right next to a town named Dublin, which means black. Okay, so I just want to give that as a follow-up. So hopefully, as we are, seeing these different things with melanated people and these last names, just start kind of paying attention, and you can put the pieces together, because this is the second time, because I also told you that dude on not Good Morning America. Well, he is on Good Morning America, but he got his own show. The ex-football player, I can't think of his name. But anyhow, he said that his heritage ties back to King Charles, melanated man. And I just kind of sat there and laughed, like, yeah, no surprise to me. So just wanted to follow that up for the family. So, sis, did you have anything that you wanted to put on it before I move on? I see Brother Sean's in the queue too.
Yes, I do. And there's another thing I found, is that sometimes if you have a variation of the name, a variation of it,
mm-hmm.
you can't find yours in your history. You find the name that the white man has, the European has, and you'll find your name. Because, because
Agreed.
Because they take the real root word, and then you get the leftovers because of segregation and racism, especially in the South. So the Europeans are part of your family, or take your name, and you have variation of that name. But their name is really, the name is yours.
Right. Very good point, because sometimes you'll see that in the records as you're doing your research, and you're scratching your head like, what the fuck? Is this some mixedness in my family? And that's not necessarily the case. It's more than likely it's either one or two things. Some of them coming over, meaning the Caucasians coming over as indentured servants or slaves, or however the hell you want to put it, just automatically took on some of those surnames, because remember, those surnames tied back to the land over in Europe. So they would be common names, like we talked about Campbell last week, who had a huge portion of land. Okay, so they either took on those last surnames, and or, I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but it is what it is. Some of the melanated Europeans coming over had them, meaning the Caucasians, as indentured servants, and they took on their last name. Great point, sis. So I'm going to bring in Brother Sean. And now I see. All right, I'm coming to you, you all. I see the callers in the queue. Let me bring in Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm good. How about you?
I'm well. It's good to hear your voice.
Likewise. How are you, sis Sandra?
I'm fine, thank you, Brian. Good to hear you. How are you?
Likewise. I'm good. That's Michael Strahan you was thinking about, sis.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like, no, why can't I think of that man's name? Yeah, Strahan. Yeah, he said his lineage ties back to King Charles. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's about right. Not surprising to me. Yep. Indeed, brother. Did you have any go ahead on with the fuckery?
Y'all probably already addressed it. I'm just surprised that the impeachment, though, is still going on. I mean, that was settled day one. I mean, what's really going on, though? That's what people need to be worried about. They put on this big show for something.
That's what I said.
Some big going down. And our people sleeping on it. Also, the fact that it's Native American History Month. Now, they were careful to name it Native American History Month.
Right.
And it was actually approved during Obama's tenure. Now here it is. They didn't give these folks a whole month to tie themselves to this land without a bit of protest from our people. We protest everything else. We protest for immigrants. We protest for people being killed by cops. Then some of us protest for the cops. I mean, if it's a protest, it's going to be a nigga there. Because y'all don't do shit but protest and complain.
True that.
A real shit going on your land all the time. Shit that exclude you. And you go along with it. You don't think that's fuckery?
Now, did you see the latest that's going around on Facebook that they said that they were going to originally have Julia Roberts play the role as Harriet Tubman? And folks were, of course, all in outrage about that. So,
wow, they both
exactly.
Europeans, right?
Yep. Harriet Tubman is a Ross, which is tied to the Stuart bloodline, which is tied to King James and them. Yeah.
And she's supposed to be of that bloodline. That's why her career has been so prominent. Because, I mean, how does something like that win the most beautiful woman in the world? I mean, how? And how does that change from one year to the next? I mean, unless you die, you should continue to be the most beautiful woman, right?
Right. Just like everybody pissed about them poor John Legend. They eating him up because they had Idris and now it's John Legend, and folks like Idris is still living, so how you about? I'm like, oh, poor John Legend, but yeah.
And he married to a European? John Legend.
Yeah, and Idris is too.
Oh. Well, I mean, I guess Idris, they say Idris didn't done enough,
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, John Legend got to get his. He got to do other than, Super Bowl halftimes and, stuff like that,
Right, because,
they got to give him a little bit more.
Yeah, because, he's out of the Shy, and a lot of Shy folks, based on Lee Cummings' research, are from Dublin, Black.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make sense. That would make sense because I don't know if y'all remember that I said that Idris' name ties back to, I got to look it up. How could I forget that? Because that's my guy. It either ties back to Noah. I'll have to get it. Anyway, it's tying back to that bloodline. But speaking of that, last week when we were talking, I couldn't remember whose name tied back to Anunnaki. So, and how I can forget this is just astounding to me. Because Enoch is Anak or Anunnaki. And then Lamech is Noah's father, Methuselah. That's what we were trying to say last week, sis.
Oh, this Methuselah.
Right, because he lived 100 and something odd years, this, that, and the third. So that was the connection. I had to go back, y'all, and look through the notes because I hate to put information out there that, we didn't have the complete answer for. So that's what I was trying to say last week when we were reading the article about the Anunnaki and tying it in with biblical scriptures. So that's what it was. Enoch means Anak. It's just a variation of Anak or Anunnaki. Okay, and I would highly encourage people to read the Book of Enoch. Very, very good read. It's going to put a lot of light on stuff, and those beings that Enoch or Anak was talking to were, quote, quote, if you look at the Sumerian text, were the Anunnaki beings. That's who is a part of his particular bloodline. And just one last thing, sis. And then the book that one of the other books that we used, that Brother Wendow did an excellent job, literally taking this book and taking the Holy Bible and matching up those scriptures. And it was literally word for word. Only thing that was changed was in the Bible. In the book of Enki, they named which being was speaking in those verses. And in the Bible, it either says God or Lord. Right. So that's the lost book of Enki. So those of you that are really good with the Bible, you will be really interested to see the comparisons. So that's a book by Stitchin, digging through the Sumerian text. So that's the lost book of Enki. Okay, sis, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Methuselah lived over 900 years. I just want to bring that up.
Okay, thanks. I knew it was, okay, some change. Oh, damn, that's long as heck, but go ahead.
And when you look at Charles and the Stuarts, there was a war between the Yorks and the Lancasters. And one side was supporting Edward, and the other side was supporting, who there was that? I forget what it was, Philip or somebody. And so the one that supported Edward lost. And it's the same thing in the Bible. when you look at the Lamont, and there was two of those. There was two with the same name on both sides of the family. So
yeah, I noticed that too, sis, when I was looking at that family tree. But go ahead. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
So it makes for confusion, and I think it's done deliberately, because who was the two? You know, were they both melanated? Obviously, they may have been, but why do you have to name your cousins the same names as your cousins? And they don't even distinguish between the two. And so Edward, it's a rivalry in the family. One part of the chain made the cut, to be the chosen, and one part of the chain did. And so I think, my opinion is, the Stuarts didn't make the cut, and they circumvented the Americas here to come over here to get us and destroy us too, because that was their whole intent and their whole purpose, and that's what they did. They came over here to get us. So the other side was destroyed in Europe, or they were trying to destroy them all in Europe, and some of them survived. But I believe the Stuarts circumvented the one that really was the firstborn. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's interesting. So you think the Stuarts overthrew the indigenous throne, or the Stuarts were the indigenous throne?
No, I think the Stuarts overthrew the indigenous throne.
That's interesting. Because they fought a long time to try to get them Stuarts back on that throne. Right.
Exactly. But the Stuarts was probably the second half of the overtaking, because Charles II went into Germany, right? And then
if I remember correctly. So
then you turn around and have World War II, and the melanated Germans were destroyed by Hitler.
Yep.
So
very, very interesting.
Double dealing going on somewhere.
Yeah, but you know what? I do also have to say, when you start to do your own research into your heritage, it's going to really trip you out to see how far back the first names go in your family. It just really, I'm like, oh, hell no. So that's how my great uncle got that name. He was named after da 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 da. So I'm just pointing that out as well, how the names kept carrying on, and I mainly see it on the men's side. I do occasionally see it where the women will name their daughters after a past ancestor, but it's really, really prevalent on the man's side.
From what I understand of history, last names just started in about the 1300s. When I think it was what's that chick of Ferdinand and Isabella got on the throne in Spain. Then she decreed people had to have last names. They didn't have last names. So there was a lot of people copying names. A lot of people copying everybody else.
Yeah, which would make sense why the Caucasians have the surnames that they do today. Because, like I said, I can't speak so much of Spain because I haven't done deep research there. We saw in Europe where those lands were named after those surnames. So anybody could have picked up those surnames if you're coming to a new land. Just like, okay, I'm going to give a good example. Godfather fans, y'all finna know where I'm going with this. When the godfather came into the Americas, because remember he had to flee, because his whole family was basically killed. So they snuck him up out of the country. He couldn't speak no English. So what did they do? Because I think his name was Vito. So they was trying to ask him his last name. And because he was a young boy, he couldn't communicate. What did they do? They gave him the last name of the town out of Italy where he came from, Corleone. So that wasn't really even his family lineage's real surname. God damn it, thank you, Spirit. All right, so there you go. There you go. So people were coming over, taking the last surname either from other quote prominent people, or they were basing it on location. Yes, Scotty Saturn. Yes, I found research on surnames, and they named them after various things. Yep, location, animal, job, vanity, father, mother, town, nature like trees, and flowers. Absolutely.
It says,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they play the name game now. You know, people that's running to be politicians, they'll use the name of another politician, get their name legally changed to something else.
That shit messed me up. That they don't even have to run under their real quote government name. Yeah. I'm like, you kidding me.
It's name familiarity. I mean, people do that all the time, especially if they plan on stealing your history or whatever.
Right.
I mean, people name their children after celebrities, after royalty, after their heroes. Right. I mean, people name their kids after cars, everything nowadays.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So, Scotty Saturn in the chat, it started with the black Jews making surnames, and then the fake Jews copied. Yeah, I would agree with that. And then Purple Pill, Stewart and Stewart, he's spelling it different ways, implies steward, recognize. Yes, Purple Pill, it's interesting that you say that, because when I was reading last week, I think it was out of the White Trash book, and she said that such and so is a steward of the land. I said, God damn it, that's where that term came from, steward of the land. So meaning tying back to the black nobility bloodline, the steward. So yes, indeed. Okay, so let me bring on 832. And then I see 862, so hold on a second. I know you all been holding for quite a while, so. 832, your line is open.
Rhonda! Sandra! My sisters from other sisters! Feathers up!
Feathers up, brother.
United Snakes from America, down! Sean, my brother from another mother, sitting on Mount Olympus, throwing them black lightning bolts down tonight.
Indeed, yeah.
You know, just a couple of tidbits before I go into what I wanted to share with you all and the team and the family tonight. Michael Strahan never said he came from Charles. Henry Louis Skip Gates presented him with that pronouncement. In addition, back to what Sandra said, his family was one of the, what did you say, Sandra, 1,500 relocated Negro Indians coming to Texas, and that the Strahan family has a town named after him. Is that correct, Sandra? Because I think you said that's where your people came from in Texas, didn't you?
That's correct. 1,500 freed black men, yeah.
Came in. The Strahan Strahan family has a town or some land that's nearby your people in Texas. You know what you said? I think I remember you saying that before.
No, I didn't say that.
No.
So, Texas has always been Indian territory. Always has been. So they keep changing the boundaries, but Texas is Indian territory.
And then they will tell you one thing about Tejas, which most people do not know. That's the actual word, not Texas. Tejas is an Aboriginal Indian word that means friend. However, we already know how friendship has been used since our ancestors told us the white man, paleface, speak with forked tongue, which I will circle back to that when I talk about the United States of America. He also, Henry Louis Gates, went and pronounced Russell Wilson, the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks, as a descendant of Charlemagne, if you never saw that episode.
Oh, I did not see that episode.
And of course, he's starting up his new season to stir up another round of propaganda. Now, in the case of Methuselah, and if I'm not, you can correct me, a biblical scholar, I believe in Scripture he lived to be 969 years of age. But they never talk about an end to his life. And in the case of Enoch, another term or name or title was used, was referenced as Metatron, which I think came out of not just the Book of Enoch, but it came out of the Lost Book of Enki as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, you are right.
And in the case of Enoch, he had no end. He just was taken up, quote unquote, into the heavens, Heavenly Father's arms, blah, 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 blah. You know what the biblical spirituality. If you also remember, I'm just using these parallels here, Moses didn't get tapped to be the leader of the so-called Hebrew Israelites until the age of 80, and presumably died at 120, as virile a man as his 20s. But he went up on Mount Sinai and was taken up into the comfort of the Lord Heavenly Father. Isn't that correct, Ben? Something to that effect. The thing of that, along with Ezekiel and the chariot, the wheel within the wheel, going up on the mountainside, whether it's Sinai or any other type of, when we start really focusing on when rocks cry out, and what the actual mountain. Oh, I'm rambling a bit here now because there's also something was reported today in Brazil that this is Black Appreciation Day, if you had not heard that reported. Their categorization of racial strata in Brazil is white, black, brown, and yellow. Now, the Stuart situation that he put out, which is Mary, Queen of Scots, if you notice, the current occupant, 45, in the White House, for some strange reason, never mentions his mother, who is a Scottish. Okay? He has put a lot of effort in the Scottish golf course, I think it's named Turnbull, that is on borderline bankruptcy, if I'm not mistaken, right, Sean?
Indeed.
These things are showing a distraction. And I'm saying all this to kind of bring and circle back to the commentary I wanted to put tonight, which is paper genocide. Now, Byron Allen, I don't know if you mentioned this in party, but this attack, and I'm using air quotes, on the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which is what he is now being drugged. And people keep saying Byron Allen. They need to actually put him aside, because here's a quick backstory that we need to understand about this, just bullet point. He sued Comcast and Charter after first suing AT&T, who was trying to acquire DirecTV. He sued AT&T for $10 billion. He then summarily turned around and sued Comcast for $20 billion in the wake of Comcast purchasing NBC Universal. When they did that, they went and hired the Urban League, the NAACP, Al Sharpton, and the National Action Network, and paid them, some cases, not only under the table, but in the case of the Urban League, the CEO of Comcast sits on the board and gives them $1 million outright grant every year. Okay? They then papered over the conducting of business with black people, and that's why I'm stressing paperwork for certain individuals, to say this is proof that we are copacetic with black folk in America because we have, under 501c3 corporate espionage, bought these hand-picked Negroes, state that they represent all black folk in America. And then, in the case of Comcast, over $50 billion of licensing fees. And there's a reason why I'm pointing this out, because this is extremely important. It's not just we're talking about a cable, channel. There's the largest. Charter is number 2. You throw Cox in the mix, 1, 2, 3. Comcast, Charter, Cox. But out of $50 billion, they spend less than $3 million. Now, 1% of $50 billion is $500 million. 1% of that 1% is $5 million. So we don't even get a penny of a penny. You feel me? And that is what Byron Allen has challenged by bringing it to the fore. Now, the questionable judge in the Comcast case ruled against him twice to try to uphold the white male privilege that Comcast has in many of these corporate entities. Because remember, in the 1920s, corporations, between the first decade of the 1900s to the second decade, about a dozen court cases authorized personhood to corporations, right? So you can never seem to get an actual human being to sue and hold accountable for the evil corporate behavior of these major Fortune 500 companies, okay? So what he has done is, by using the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which was specifically designed immediately after the Civil War, on paper to say the freed, and I'm using air quotes here, F-R-E-E-D, slaves were to receive economic inclusion. Now, what does that really mean, and what does that entail? When if you point out an example, 2019, today, I don't care what corporation you'll pick any industry, pick any company, throw a dart at the New York Stock Exchange and when any one of these blue chip Dow companies, are they doing 1%? And I'm going to call it this way, the stinking Lincoln. Remember Dane Calloway's documentary about the copper penny? It's the only quote-unquote black money in America. It is the literal representation of the American Aborigine as defined by Merriam-Webster in 1828 as the copper-colored races of people that were encountered when these foreign colonizing invaders came to our homeland, right? And if you notice, the portrait of Lincoln faces the opposite direction of every other coinage that has been minted. It is actually facing from Africa to America, if you will, to use that kind of analogy, in facing westward, whereas all the other portraits of coinages face eastward.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's one thing. And it is the only money ever minted from colonial America to today in copper. The original penny had Native American images. American eagle, the only indigenous bird to North America. And it was used repeatedly by Benjamin Franklin to be disparaging towards our Aboriginal ancestors. You follow me? Because it is the least in denomination of currency
valuable,
or money in this society.
Right.
Now, okay, so now keep that in context of what I'm saying when I am discussing what is paper genocide. We say we are chasing paper. That's from a famous line of Rihanna's song, right? And it's not really made out of paper. It is made out of cotton. This thing that we walk around in our pocket that we call currency is a fabric. It's not actual paper. It is just like the clothes and apparel that we make. It is woven and made out of fabric. And that fabric is cotton. And cotton is king. That became the replacement for hemp.
For hemp.
Made paper, rope, fabric. It was the actual fundamental element of colonial America. All things were made out of hemp.
Yep.
Now today, again, showing this evolution of paper genocide, they are trying to legalize marijuana and have industrialized hemp. But who is in jail for consuming marijuana in exorbitant 3 strikes you're out, predatory Slick Willie Clinton policies, written literally by Joe Biden, who crowed about it until he got called on it in his latest 3rd attempt to run.
Right, who is still against legalization of marijuana, by the way. But go ahead on, brother, yes.
Okay, so now, is this not all being laid out through paperwork? Now, overarching paper genocide has been done by the Racial Classification Act of 1924 in Virginia. That's that Walter Pleckler that you mentioned before. You've had, and I've raised this again about the Empress Vera Diossi, Gostin, Turner, Elbey, and her appeal before the United Nations declaring the Washita tribe, according to their scientific, archaeological, and anthropological studies, to be the most ancient tribe of people on planet Earth. Are they not one of the mound builders?
Yep.
Are they not original inhabitant of North America?
Yep.
And to reiterate again, under the definition of Merriam-Webster's 1828, American, the aboriginal copper-colored races of people in this land. Second sentence in that definition, now used to include Europeans that are native born here. That's on paper, definition of identity theft. Second, Indian is defined as the indigenous inhabitants of North America. So American Indian is their first definition label for us in this course of paper genocide. Ultimately, and I will continue to say this, we suffer identity crisis, and identity theft is the number one federal crime in the United States of America. Not murder, not rape, not sexual harassment, identity theft. So there is right now pending a minimum of 50 million cases of fraud, of identity theft, of so-called Negro, colored, black, African Americans that have not been charged because fraud has no statute of limitations. But the people who have defrauded have not declared it. Now, one last point for the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights that states all human beings have the right to establish their own nationality. They can change it at will, but they cannot be deprived their nationality. Now, is nationality or a nation a geographic boundary drawn on a map, or familial ties, tribal affiliation, or immediate families by birthright? Do you feel me, my friend? What is a nation? And if your identity has been stripped and you are completely immersed in a fraud that is paper genocide, and the United Nations says the definition of genocide includes as one portion the taking of children from one group of people to another. Now you know where I'm going with this. To another group of people, called CPS, called foster care, called cross-racial adoption. Do you know the NAACP and the black sociologists, black social workers have decried for decades how the system purposely prevents black people, black parents, black families, so-called black, from adopting the children of their immediate relations or for communities. And when they take these children from their identity, their nation, their familial blood, who infects and poisons them primarily? So-called Caucasian, European, white families who are deemed to be more financially stable, more responsible, and they had a phrase for it that was created by the Pope and the Roman Catholic Church under Dom Diversi. You know what it was called, my sister? The white man's burden. And I yield.
Wow. All right, Brother 832, peace and love to you. Thanks for putting that drop in for us with a lot of key information and dates. Truly appreciate you. Let me go to 862. I know you've been holding. 862, your line is open.
Please, can you hear me?
I can hear you, beloved.
How you doing, sister?
I'm good. How are you?
Taking it easy. I've been actually listening to your channel. Lex Will, I actually watching one of Lex Will channels, and they reference to your channel. So I've been watching your channel for the last couple, I think about a week or so. I mean, man, I know they're like 3 hours, so I've been trying to get like 2 in a day. My question is this, right? As far as these Europeans that came there, right, the black nobility, right? Are you guys aware that it was 2 different empires that was in that region? I mean, it was actually more than 2, but it was as far as the black nobility, what we call like the Rome. Are y'all familiar with the Byzantine Empire?
But come on, enlighten the family. You give us some background.
Okay. Well, the Byzantine Empire is the Roman and the Greeks. Okay, the Roman and the Greeks have always been there, and them was actually what we consider to be Moors or to be black people. Okay, they are actually the ones that came over here and conquered. When you look at the Byzantine Empire is actually the people who gave the Slavs the name the Slavs. They was the ones enslaving the Slavs. Now, I know a lot of people, when you refer to the Moors, we most refer to the Moors in Spain and Portugal. But the Moors in Spain and Portugal was actually warring with the Christian Moors. The Christian Moors are the Moors that put the Arab, well, the Moors that we assume to be the one that was in Andalusia, they actually pushed them out. And a lot of them Moors came back here. A lot of them were from here because the science of building and the science of zero and the science of mathematics came from the Americas. We came from here and left and brought all these people around the world. And these people came back. Now, I'm not 100% sure about this, right? But according to what I'm seeing, I'm kind of assuming that the so-called Moors of Spain or Portugal, I think they was kind of the guardians of the Americas. Now, I know I'm going on a limb by saying this, right? Because once they got pushed out, it's so ironic that after 1491, because they got pushed out 1491, after 1491, 1492, the Christian Moors came here. These are black people. When you talk about
Yep.
Carlos Quinto, and all of the Incas. These was black people. Carlos Quinto
That's right.
is Charles V. He's Charles V, right? Now the funny thing about this is, right, you was talking about Henry Louis Gates. Henry Louis Gates, when he went over to Scotland, and shout out to Lex Will because he played this too, right? Henry Gates was related to a man by the name of Charles IX. Charles, I guess you want to say Charles IX or whatever, which I assume he had some bloodline to Charles V.
Wow.
Charles
So
V,
you're saying Gates itself is related to Charles IX.
Mm-hmm.
That shouldn't surprise me, but yeah, go ahead. Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. And actually in the video, I mean, I'm surprised like Will never brought this up. But when he came back, the same day that he came back from Ireland is the day when the police went in his house. Remember the police went in his house in Connecticut?
Yeah, and then he wound up having a beer with Prez O and some other dude and all that. Yeah.
Barack Obama, right? So
right.
With the cop that actually did it, him and Barack Obama. Now, I don't know what the connection is. I don't know what kind of deal he cut, but we do know that this nigga is some form of an agent. Definitely, it's a fact.
Yes, he is.
Everybody
for sure.
Go up there, everybody that go up there and tell them that they had indigenous
They sure
ancestors,
do. Sure do.
Who was adamant, just like Tina Turner. Tina Turner
was pissed. Wasn't? Did you see the look on her face? It's like she wanted to slap the heck out of him.
Yep. He was lying. But, you know, as far as what's going on, like, you know, with the white slavery, here's another book. I don't know if you mention it, White Slavery and Antebellum South. That's another good one. And you got black slave owners. Now, what a lot of people don't know is this. In 1960, the biggest slave owner in the South was a black man by the name of William Ellison. Okay? Now, William Ellison was also, he wasn't the only one. He was, but they said he owned the most slaves in the South. Now, my question would be this. According to the history we see, now we know that the history because now we learning white slaves, and we also learning that a lot of the indigenous people here was enslaved, and a lot of us. Well, I'm gonna say we POWs, like y'all always say.
POWs. Yep.
So what I think is a lot of the other tribes that was working with the so-called I want to say British and the Christians, because they the ones who came here. The Doomed Devisers clearly said to go around the world and enslave the Saracens and the pagans. Now, like I said, my understanding is the Saracens will be the descendants of Sarah and Abraham, and they also, like, when you look at the so-called Moors in Spain and Portugal, you always see the Hebrews running up under them. The Hebrews was hanging with the Moors that was with the so-called Moors that we think that speak Arabic, or the Arabic Moors and the Arabs and all the motherfuckers that was in Andalusia. The Hebrews was the ones that was hanging with them, and they got expelled with them. Yes, but so now when you read the Doomed Devisers, what they say, they go around the world and enslave the Saracens and the pagans. Okay, now we know Verrazano made reference to the people in Carolina looking not much unlike Saracens. This is what he said. Okay. Now, we also got another reference of what we assume to be a Saracen is when we look at Robin Hood. Morgan Freeman is also called, he said he's Moorish, but his so-called slave, because he had a slave. If you watch the movie, you see he had a white slave. And his white slave kept calling him a Saracen. He kept calling him Saracen. Now, like I said, the Saracens are the pagans. We will be considered the so-called pagans because we didn't have the belief of Christianity.
Exactly.
But
go ahead, brother.
Understand this. The oldest 10 Commandments was founded in the Americas. This is. I'm not saying I can't prove this 100%, but this is just from my research. My name is Asante, one, by the way, so I have a YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. Give us your YouTube channel, brother. Give us your YouTube channel so the family can check you out for sure.
No doubt. My name is Asante, one. It's AUTOCH.
Oh yeah. Oh hell yeah. I know you.
We know
I done played your stuff on. Yeah. I done played your stuff on this show so many times. Yeah, go ahead, brother. That's why you dropping this knowledge.
Well, nice meeting you. Definitely nice meeting you. I got an instant vibe. I definitely loved it from the time I first listened. So I said, yeah, because you know what? A lot of us don't. Now, check this out. Even when we look up what the term slave means, now we got to understand this, right? When you look up the term slave, the word slave, it tells you the slave. And then it says because it's secondary, because there's so many slaves sold by conquering people. But then when you go down, it says the enslavement of the entire race of people. Now, what I did was this. I was playing with the Google search a little bit, Googling to see how many different, because when you Google the word Slav, it's going to be the typical white people that you normally see that's going to come up. I'm telling you, listen, every particular white person that you have ever seen, when you Google Slav, you're going to see them when they pop up. And so they were trying to say that the Slav was the Russians and all these other people, right? But they was also the Germans. The Slavs was the entire race of European, of what we assume to be white people. The entire race, all of them were slaves, all of them. And I assumed that the Christians or the Catholics, because understand, the Romans and the Greeks became the Constantinople or the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire became the Catholics or the Christians, however you want to put it. They are the ones that came here and did what they did to us. And they're also the ones that went around the world and made people convert to Christianity.
That's right.
And that's why we say under Roman society, when you look under Roman society, you look, they was enslaving the Slavs. But I'm thinking that they gave these people permission to come over here. And even when you see, like you were saying, that, you know, a lot of these people, they came here, they were supposed to only serve 7 years as so-called slaves. Like, I don't think none of our people had slaves. I don't think that. I think that maybe it was a small amount of so-called Aborigines. Or I'm not going to say small amount because I actually went through the entire slave owners in the South, and there's thousands of them, right? But black slave owners, right? But what I'm assuming is this, right? We all right. I think this. We was the agriculture. We was the people who knew how to do the agriculture. When you look at the Indians or the Aborigines in Virginia, you'll see drawings of them working with the European, right? They not working with the European. They putting together the package to sell to the European or barter to the European. So when you first start seeing these people, at first they come here, they see resources in which that they can get from us, right? So we was the people who was, you know, I guess, we was farming or whatever we was doing with the resources, whether it was cotton, whether it was tobacco, whether it was hemp, whether it was, you want to say produce, then that's any fruits, vegetables, etc., right? We was the ones who was doing that. But they was trying to set up the corporation. Now, when you look at, when they say the trifecta or the they say that the Roman Empire is the religious order, the London Empire is the financial order, and America is the military order, right? Now, you see all three of them connected. And the funny thing is, when you read or you study, you study the Illuminati. When was the Illuminati formed? Oh, the Illuminati was formed in 1776. And you said, so I'm not even going to say what it is. Just think about it. Okay? What else was formed in 1776? Okay?
The corporation.
One of your videos, that's right. One of your videos, you said that the thing was to go to conquer the land and in turn take the land and turn it into a business. What do you see in most of these black areas? Because in most of the areas that was hit by drugs, you see most of the dilapidated homes. So what they do is they move all those people out of there and bring people in there, build it up, and now you can't even afford to live in them.
Yeah.
They bring all these immigrants in. They bring these immigrants in. They working 3 or 4 jobs, and we can't keep up with them because we like, that's crazy to us to be working
right.
Working, all them hours out of the day or whatever. But that's what they doing. And like I said, our own people did it to us too, because we was the people who helped them and showed them. These people could have never came here and did what they did to us.
There's no way. Exactly. Very, very true.
We sit up there, and like I tell a lot of people, because I learned from Moors, and I would never, like, the Moors I learned from is people who was talking about the Americas. I'm talking about 12, 13 years ago. And, and even when it comes to that, we assume that it was the Moors, but no, it was our own people that did it. Now, I'm not telling you that the Christian Moors didn't come here and apply pressure to us yet. But a lot of our people wanted the traits of what they was getting, and I
agree.
So even when you look in 1860 census, right? The instructions to the U.S. Marshals, right? So in the 1860 census, it says Indians. It says Indians not taxed, okay? And it says Indians that have given up their tribal rule, have given up their tribal relations and have moved within state and within state territory are to be classified as colored. Okay. Now what do we got? What do we got consistent with the African slave story, right? Now, what we got consistent is this: the Indians here was brown skin. The Indians here was prisoners of war. The Indians here was classified as colored. All of the same things. See, we think we was called black from the time these people got here. No, we was called colored all the way up into the 1960s. You know what I'm saying? We was called colored all the way up into this. So we got to pretty much understand that. We never called ourselves Indians. That's a term that they put on us. But
that's right.
Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution says Indians not taxed. And like the brother said, when you look at the UNDRIP, it says you have a right to government to government. And, and one of the brothers in here said the Iroquois was the Moors. Nah, I don't believe it. The Iroquois was us. We was the people who put together the Constitution. And when you look in HR 331, it says the Iroquois Confederacy. It says maintain the government-to-government relationship with the United States. They don't say the United States of America. They say with the United States, meaning the so-called corporate structure. So we actually put that together. And that is like Lex Will said, that is the only law that you're supposed to be using. You ain't supposed to be using no statutes. You ain't supposed to be using codes. You ain't supposed to be using nothing. You're supposed to, Indians not taxed, and that's it. And tax, there's a lot of underlining words that go with the word tax. You understand what I'm saying? And see, that's something that we have to do. You know what I'm saying? We say, all right, now paperwork is not the end-all being, but you got to put people on notice. If I keep calling you Michelle and your name is Rachel, what are you going to do? You going to put me on notice and tell me, look, my name is Rachel. Okay, do I need to draw a picture and spell it for you? But I'm going to put you on notice. So either if you go there verbally tell them, or you go there and you declare that in an affidavit. Now we know the paperwork is nothing. We know we ain't wasn't using no paperwork, but you're going to have to tell these people who you are some way. Are you going to go to the top of the mountain and yell, like, I'm an Indian? And they'll be like, all right, and then they're going to recognize you? Or are you going to, you know what I'm saying, how are we planning on doing it? Or are we just going to stay in the same status that we're in? So if you don't tell them, they're not recognized. Okay, we can walk around here and say we Indians, or we can walk around here and do get all of the remedies that apply to us or whatever. But at some point in time, we're going to have to put these people on notice because we know how these people, how they, you know what I'm saying, how they disrespect us. We know how they, you know what I'm saying, how they step over their boundaries. So if they don't understand what the Constitution is, because you got, even when you understand, so what does it tell you? What does it tell you in the under? It says them are rights to the indigenous people, right? So now how do you enforce them rights? You enforce them rights through Title 18, Section 242, Declaration of Rights. Declaration of Rights include all judges, correction officers, police officers, state troopers, people working in the medical industry, people working in these regular offices. It applies to all of them. It says any of these people who do deprive you of a right, the penalty is, if you wasn't injured, it's up to a year in jail, and if you was injured by a firearm or by any weapon, it's up to life in prison or death by firing squad. And this is people who bound to the Constitution. So I definitely just wanted to just put that in there.
All
definitely
right.
be listening to I appreciate definitely the content. And then one more thing too, if you look up the etymology of the word colonization, it basically tells you of blacks being sent from America to Africa. You look up the term colonization.
Oh, wow.
Etymology. Yeah, you look up the term etymology in the etymology dictionary. You look up the term colonization. It tells you that it refers to black. It refers to the U.S. of black Americans being sent and being colonized in Africa. This is what it says. So I definitely looked that up. You get a chance. Thank you.
I definitely will. Thank
Yeah.
you, brother. Thank you, brother, and thank you for your work as well. You put out great work, so I truly appreciate you.
That's the ancestors, though. You heard me? That's the ancestors that's shaking us and moving us. So, you know, definitely, man, I'm going to definitely be listening. Peace to everybody. Peace to everybody in the chat room. Peace to all the Aborigines.
All right. Yes, peace and love, brother. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Sister Sandra.
I want to say that the Saracens' kin is Elam. Elam is one of the children of Abraham and, you know, all those, Isaac, Jacob, and all that kind of stuff. So he was one of the children out of Jacob and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, it comes this line and this line and this line. Wendell gave us that. So he was the branching of the Saracens. Now, when he said that the colonization was us being shipped over there, Abraham Lincoln supposedly was supposed to sign the bill to colonize us, to take us back to South America where they captured some of the people from. A lot of the melanated people, they that's why they think they came from Africa, because they came on a ship from South America. Remember what they did to what's it called, that place? Australia, New Zealand, and all that stuff for the sugar cane. When they were doing the sugar cane, they captured them from South America. So when Abraham Lincoln was supposed to sign that bill, it was a colonization bill, to send us back, or send them back, the ones they captured from South America. That's when he was assassinated, because then he would have to really tell the story who we really are. Because they expected them people to go to Africa, but when they were going to South America, instead they were going to South America, where they had kidnapped a lot of them from. And they kidnapped them and took them over to the sugar canes for Australia and New Zealand and all that kind of stuff as well. I just want to bring that, because he said
good point. And real quick before Brother Sean jumps in, Scotty Saturn says Saracen equals Sarah's son. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
We could take this all the way back to talk, because he was exiled, remember? And he went over there and taught them. So, I mean, Even to bring it a little more closer. Remember when we was doing that about when they put Jamestown and all that over in Africa, they sent people over there and then they tried to enslave the people over there.
Yep.
So considering that the Stuarts and all of them were over there colonizing and never really had a land over there that they called their own. Then was probably the dirty Moors that was exiled from here. And they started their conquest over there and worked their way back here.
Yeah, y'all, this shit is deep. Do you hear me?
That's how so much was known about here.
And it would make sense. Remember when we was doing the Giant series and they found ancient Hebrew scripture, and it wasn't even Hebrew. I think it was cuneiform. But come to find out, remember they had like this drawing of a melanated person with the afro, and the sis Cheryl looked it up and said that was linked to the tablet of Moses. And it went really, really far back. So, damn, y'all, this shit, I'm trying to tell y'all.
Because King James said that he was Roman. He claimed to be Hebrew and everything else.
Yep.
I mean, his same conquests and his areas of conquest coincide with what the Moors say that they conquered.
Right. Right.
As we know, history is written by the victors. Now, those bloodlines that they're talking about in those books are the colonizing bloodline.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the average, everyday people who were being victimized by them.
Exactly.
They're talking about their bloodline.
That's right. That's right. So Scotty Saturn goes Paleo-Hebrew, Western Semitic cuneiform. Thank you, Scotty Saturn. Yes, that's the particular inscriptions that they were finding on the lands of Americas. Because I'm like, wait a minute, no, that wasn't the Hebrew. I think it was cuneiform. So yes, thank you for clearing that up, Scotty Saturn. So you all, great drop as usual. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
One more thing. We do thoroughly understand what paperwork is supposed to represent.
Be. Yeah.
As long as we have the wrong people receiving the paperwork, ain't nothing going to change. I mean, I completely understand making people recognize, but those in power already know. I could care less about the commoners being able to recognize. The system has to go. Period.
It has to go. It has to go, period. I 1,000% agree.
Whether we created it
or
not.
We I
fucked
1,000%
up.
agree. We fucked up. We went against universal law.
We're prisoners of war now. Ain't nothing they hearing from no prisoners of war. It's either you going to be a good citizen or you on the outs.
Right.
That's the realization that we have to come to. We have to stop playing this game. It don't go on if we don't give it the energy.
Right. Right. Because, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If most people don't know who they are, what claim are they going to stand on? They going to claim to be somebody else's ancestry because they don't actually know who they are?
Right.
the first place we have to begin at is with everybody getting to know themselves.
Exactly.
Because some people have to accept the fact that your bloodline is part of the traitors. So, I mean,
absolutely.
What is it that you're actually bringing to the table?
To the table, exactly.
Right. How do I know when and what something fucked up in your DNA going to be re-triggered?
Right. 1,000% agree. 1,000% agree. And that's my stand on the paperwork. Number one, I won't promote it because I'm not trying to handhold nobody from filling out a goddamn thing. That's not my responsibility. So that's why I will not promote it. I'm not walking nobody through it. None of that. But, if that's the route you want to go, I'm not trying to down you or anything. I'm just telling you why I won't use my platform to do it. But the most important spiritual side, what I'm saying is it's all got to go because we violated natural law when we brought that fuckery into play. We didn't need a monetary system. And what the fuck was we doing trading with the blood of animals for whatever the fuck we were trading it for? We didn't need any of it. So we were breaking universal laws, and it just kept going downhill until we were knocked out of power, as we should have been, because we disrespected the land. And until folks fucking get it right, they will continue to be cursed from generation to generation to generation because they do not want to be in harmony with the laws of nature and respecting the land. We have got so far removed from it. So, yes, go ahead, Brother Sean.
I just want to put this out there. We've dealt with the alleged so-called Son of Man, the Hebrew Israelite Moorish Son of God, who's the only person who speaks directly to the Father. Instead of the other, we dealt with what was he? The ambassador of North America or whatever he called himself. He claimed to have all the trust and deeds.
Oh, Hoodoo Man.
Not just him, but him, Rothschild. I mean, they all coming out of the woodwork.
Exactly.
We've dealt with some of the biggest out here, and then seen through them all and through all their bullshit.
Yep.
Ain't none of this new to us.
It's not.
None of it.
None of it.
We just don't choose to harp on that. I've seen too many people go to jail. I've seen too many people die. And I'm not talking about natural deaths.
Yep.
Ain't none of this new. Been there, done that, got T-shirts, been to jail, all that shit.
Yep. Yeah, so don't think we don't know that paperwork side. We know it very well. We just choose not to promote it.
Lost my house, everything.
Right.
I've been there, done that.
Right.
So, if you got better experience with it and you making shit happen, more power to you with the privileges they're giving you to continue to keep a foothold on.
Right.
The whole system got to go.
On your land, exactly.
Off our shit ain't right.
I agree.
If we decide that we want to barter and draw up paperwork with each other and this, that, and the other, that's fine and dandy if some people just have to have it.
Right.
But realize that all this paperwork and shit came up under a patriarchal system. It came during our fall.
It did. Absolutely.
That's why the shit ain't working, because it was created during a fall. And
That's
it was
right.
used to further our fall. And
Yep.
now it's being used to imprison us. And we give it power by saying that you have to do this or use it for this or use it for that. We forget that they knew who we were when they came and took shit to begin with and then decided to call us something else.
Right.
It's all part of the fuckery. If people are talking about coming together to accomplish something, come together and stop the bullshit. All we got to do is stop doing it and don't nothing happen. Ain't not now one of them
Right.
about to come to now one of your house and tell you take your black or nigger or Indian ass back to work. Ain't a motherfucker about to show up at your door. But you
Right.
worried about what you gonna eat. You worried about going to work. Ain't we the ones built all this shit? Ain't we created all this?
Yep. Yes, we
All we
did.
got to do is rebuild. The land is ours. All the natural resources, everything that they build and shit with, we digging up out the land. We putting all this shit together for them. We doing everything for them. And then act like we can't live without them.
Exactly. Exactly. When it's our system that they're using to keep the fuckery going. So that, by default, should tell us that it was a fucked up system out the gate. It is against universal law. I'm going to say it again. It is against universal law. It just is. So, very, very good drop. Shout out to Autonomous One. If you're not familiar with this YouTube channel, I highly recommend it. The brother does some heavy research. We have featured his work on this show several times as well. Much respect to him. So hopefully, family, you all enter and understand where I stand and Brother Sean stand with the paperwork. Don't think that we don't know. Trust and believe, we know it. We know it very well, and pretty much ain't nothing that they could tell us on that paperwork that we have not ran across. But those are our reasons for not promoting it on the show. I don't want to get in the business of hand-holding people to do paperwork. I don't want to be responsible for folks doing things one way and getting caught up in some cases. And just fundamentally, from a spiritual perspective, that is not my personal goal from a spiritual perspective. It's all got to go. So I don't care if my ancestor from the blah, blah, blah generation, I don't give a goddamn if they was there goddamn drafting the shit. I don't care. It is wrong. Bottom line, it was against nature. It is against nature. So, all right, so let me go to 336. I promise y'all we're going to get back into the books, but damn, y'all bringing it so much. So here we go. 336, your line is open.
Yeah, I don't want to comment on everything that you just spoke about because I can't. But what is nature? I mean, you said. What type of bartering system are you suggesting that we go to? Since the bartering system that we have today is enslaving all the people around the world. What type of bartering system do you suggest we use?
So, number one, the land has everything that you need. You can get your food from the land. The land houses you. So to be honest, if you're going to barter for something, it's going to be for extra shit. So that's my stance on it.
So if I create something, so to get oil out of the ground, or just hypothetically, I create something from the land, and you need it, and I say, okay, you give me what you have this, and that's how bartering starts. And so that's what I'm asking is, what type of system of commodities do we trade with each other? How do we create an honest system amongst each other? Because the earth, you can't say the earth belongs to everybody and we could just all have everything we want and just take whatever we want, because just look at people killing animals. How many animals are extinct by the hunting of animals? How do you regulate this? I mean, human nature will destroy everything.
I'm not going to go into the definition of human nature. That's why I say you have to be in tune with the land, because if you are in tune with the land, you would enter and understand that everything you need comes from the land. Now, all of this oil stuff and these utilities and all of that fuckery, we're not even supposed to be running on that anyway, because energy naturally is generated from the soil of the earth and in the air of the earth. Naturally, it's generated. That Tesla stuff.
It's generated by the blood, sweat, and tears of humankind, of people creating it and generating it from the earth.
Who's humankind, boo boo? Who's humankind?
People, all people.
I don't think so. You need to do a little bit more research.
So if we're stuck on an island, if 7 of us are stuck on an island, there has to be, and you say, okay, someone's going to have to provide fire, someone's going to have to provide the food, someone's going to have to provide the shelter. That's where you get jobs created, and that's where you come up with commodities and responsibilities.
No. If you're on an island, you got fruit trees, you got the sea with the fish, you got twigs and shit that you can build your own stuff. So why would you need a commodity system on an island?
So what are you suggesting, that we all just we live free on the planet and just take whatever we need? I mean, human greed will take over.
That's exactly what the fuck I'm suggesting, because that's how it was before. A monetary
it was tried before, and it didn't last. Because different tribes and different types of people become jealous and angry at what others have, and then that's where you get jealousy. Human nature comes involved.
That is not in natural order. So the planet should not have to be stripped of its natural resources and scarcity created because people get, quote, quote, jealous and they want to have shiny trinkets. That's low vibrational behavior.
That's true. You're absolutely correct. But how are you going to stop that? How are you going to stop that?
I'm not going to stop it, my dear. I'm personally not going to stop it. The natural cycle of the earth will stop it. When
will the natural cycle of the earth stop it? You're seeing mankind destroy himself here on the planet Earth. I mean, now where do you get it? Now you get into the spiritual sense of things and how many different religious faiths are out there and what people believe. And what do you get? You get destruction of mankind. And I don't know where you stand on that and the history of the planet, but tribalism has been tried before, and it didn't work. Everyone has what they need on Earth, but when has it worked in history? When has it worked? Can you point to me a people or a civilization where it has worked and has succeeded throughout the history of man that you know of, through your knowledge and what you know of? When has it worked?
Well, I'll put it this way. When has your monetary system worked?
It does. It hasn't. It hasn't worked because it becomes corrupt by greed.
Okay, so why are you calling me, asking me about a barter system? And I told you that everything should be done in natural order, living off the land naturally, harvesting or harnessing the natural technology from the earth for electricity, and I'm doing that in quotes. So you're not understanding what I'm saying, but you're asking me why we shouldn't have a monetary system. And you can't say when your monetary system works.
Well, because there has to be a bartering system. And a bartering system is started by someone having more than what another person has.
It does not have to be a bartering system. The indigenous folks on the lands across this planet, if you want to call it, had lived thousands of years. Thousands of years without a Roman, quote, quote, bartering system.
So what civilization lived prior to, you're talking about the Romans, but actually the Romans was not, you can go way before that. You can go to the Mayans, you can go way before that. It's just, but we have to talk about here, now, and today. We could talk about 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago.
You kind of jumping all over the place, sweetie pie. You asked me and I told you.
So you're telling me today everybody's going to give up everything they have, the land that they own,
I'm not
everything
saying,
they've
did
achieved.
Did I say they were going to give it up? What did I
didn't
tell
say you said that. You're suggesting that that's what they do, and we go back to a natural way of living.
You're putting words in my mouth. I know they're not going to do that.
Okay, so what's the end game here? What's the final end game?
The end game is the planet will always take care of herself. That's the end game.
So therefore, the planet's going to take care of itself. So you believe in evolution then. Therefore, we're going to destroy ourselves as human beings and then start all over again. And the planet's going to regenerate, and we'll go back from the beginning, and maybe next time we'll start with the birds and the bees. Is that what you're saying? I mean, I don't understand.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the planet will destroy whomever is not in tune. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
and maybe that means that the planet's going to wipe everything out. That could be a possibility also.
Well, it is a possibility.
Humans don't get to make that last decision. Humans think they make those decisions, but at the end of the day, they don't.
So when you look at this planet and you look at the universe, you have to sit there and say there's an intelligent design behind everything. There's always a positive and a negative. So what created our universe and our Earth here today that put us here today? How did we get to the point we're at right now? Is there a creator out there that created us? Or now let's get into the I guess you could say religious. That's what people want to say, but I don't believe in religion because that's man-made. But is there a creator out there?
I agree with you on that. There definitely isn't a religion.
So is there a creator out there that has the final say? I mean, are you talking about Mother Earth? Mother Earth is the creator. I already
told you who the creator of. Who do you walk among? Who? Aren't you on a feminine body or planet or however you want to say?
Well, I believe that there's a creator and there's a purpose for the creation.
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, are you on a feminine, whether or not you want to call it planet or body?
No, I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay,
to be
so
honest
let me ask you this: were you born of a man or a woman?
I was born as a man.
Who birthed you, a man or a woman?
Oh, well, obviously I was born from a woman, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you again. Are you on a woman divine planet, or however you want to call her?
I can't say that because I'm going to be totally honest with you, so you know my standpoint is I believe look, I'm a Baptist and I believe in God. And I believe that God.
Wait! You're contradicting yourself. I thought you said you don't believe in religion.
No. Where does the Bible say that religion created anything?
Wait! You said you
religion
did not
has nothing to do with believing in God.
But
God did not create religion. Man created religion.
But did I not just hear you say you are a Baptist?
That's right.
And you said you don't believe in religion, so that's a contradiction.
No, because God did not create religion. Man created religion.
It's the concept of a woman energy planet that you feel there's a monetary system on, that there's a need for a monetary system because that was all created through religion with a male. So it makes perfect sense to me why you don't get it.
Yeah, well, you're right. I don't understand your view. I don't understand where you're coming from. Who is the creator? Who created this planet and everything we are on today? Obviously, man didn't. Women did not create the planet. I mean, if you're saying women did, then who is the first woman? Who is the first woman that created the planet? Then Mother Nature.
Oh, okay.
I mean, look. My point was before you said, but when you got back into the religion thing, like I said, God didn't create religion.
Into the religion because you said you're a Baptist. You got into religion, not me. Because I told you that's the only thing we agree on. But go ahead.
Well, I believe that God created the heavens and the earth. Heavens
Who's God?
And the earth.
Who is God?
Who is God?
What is God?
Well, who is God? Well, God is the Almighty. I am. That's what God says. I am the Creator. Who is God? We'll find out when we die.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, hey, I respect your view.
Okay. I mean, I'll continue listening to what you have to say, but, a theological discussion here is, see, we're jumping all over the place. First, we're going to a monetary system. God didn't create the monetary system, obviously. But who is
you
God?
brought the God into it, not me, but okay.
Well, look, God is God is a thought. God is conceived as the supreme being, creator, deity, and principal object of faith. God is usually conceived as being optimistic, knowing, the all-powerful, and as having an eternal and necessary existence. That's who God is. I've never,
but through Baptist, right? Through Baptist.
Well, that's right. Because if I believe in a God, that if I like a lot of people say, well, God, what kind of God do you believe in if you don't think God can preserve His word? To reveal His word, reveal Himself to you.
His word. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. It doesn't say the Father, the Mother, and the Holy Ghost.
Because it is man-made doctrine. You are spewing religion to me, a patriarch religion at that. When the worship of goddesses is the oldest form of worship on this planet, which was overthrown by the quote Christianity that brought in the male deities.
Okay, but you have to go into the Trinity of God also. You got to understand the Trinity of God also.
No, that's Christianity. So I'm not going to use the rest of my time to go over Christianity with you, but you are still deeply rooted in Christianity. And nothing's wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. I am not trying to down your beliefs. Not at all. You have every right to believe whatever you want to believe. But I'm certainly not going to use the rest of the time to go over the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost.
That's fine. Maybe we could do it in the future. That's fine. You're more,
all right, it's all good.
Fine.
It's all
good. But I'll continue to listen.
Okay, no worries. Well, peace and love.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, 336, peace and love. Okay, so here we go. Let's get into the topic. We are going, because I didn't last week, They Were White and They Were Slaves, The Untold History of the Enslavement of Whites in Early America by Michael A. Hoffman II. So where did I leave off? Wait a minute, y'all. Okay, I left off on page 17. All right, so remember, this particular book, I'm warning you all, if you get it, it's an easy read because it's only like 100 and something pages, but dude is raw with it. That's all I can say. So, trying to see where we left off to just kind of give you an idea. So, previously, he was talking about such is the course of 19 out of 20 of the fatal cases originating in deficiency of food as they occur among the destitute poor in our large towns. The first effect of the gradual starvation to which these persons are subjected. It is a strange anomaly to see in wealthy, civilized Christian England multitudes of men living in the lowest state of physical degradation and absolutely perishing from neglect. The fact is undeniable that no inconsiderable portion of our fellow creatures is living on food and in dwellings scarcely fit for brutes, certainly worse provided for than many of our domestic animals, and that the death of numbers is accelerated or indirectly produced by gradual and protracted starvation. So he's quoting out of Joseph Ashhead, Distress in Manchester, Evidence, tabular and otherwise, of the state of the laboring classes. Okay, so just to recap again, part of the problem with the whole European thing and why I get so heated about this Christianity stuff, because with Christianity links up the monetary system, which is a failed system. Huh?
And the legal system. We're up under ecclesiastical law.
Exactly. And everywhere that they instituted, when they went and they took over the indigenous people's land, who lived on their lands thousands of years, if not millions, but I'm just going to put the little thousands up in there. But soon as these quote monetary systems and the Christianity came on deck, then all of a sudden scarcity came into play. And that's one of the reasons why these particular kingdoms had to keep going around the planet, conquering and colonized, because they done fucked up and ran in the ground the other lands. Okay? And Europe was a hot mess. People were starving, disease broke out, etc., etc. parts of the land, most of the land had become infertile. Okay, that's why when they came over to the Americas, setting up business, okay, and I'm doing business in quotes, business with their contracts and chartering the land, that folks that they gave the land to had to not only pay taxes back to those kingdoms, but more importantly, they also had to send or plant a certain amount of crops to be sent back over to Europe as well. Okay? So let's be clear. That is why I'm so strongly against this particular monetary system, the whole Christianity thing, all of that. Because it's just not a sustainable system. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
Barter is based upon wants. Mother provides everything we need.
That's all I was trying to say.
If somebody in their creative nature creates something, that's within you to do that. That's your gift to be able to do that. It's either you want to share it with the world or you want to try and barter it to people. But only people who want it will bother to try and barter.
Exactly.
We place too much emphasis on things that we want.
Right, instead of need.
When Mama provides us with everything that we need, we don't own shit.
Agreed.
Until people realize that we don't own a motherfucking thing, they're going to be fucked up in the head. Now, those who choose to vibrate at that level, there's always going to be some place that exists for you. You don't have to worry about that. You will reincarnate. You don't have to worry about it at all.
Right.
You'll be back.
Right. And you can come back and try to do it better under that bartering system. That's your right.
They gonna come back at that same or lower vibratory frequency. Now, we are on a living, breathing planet.
Yep.
It's been in existence for nobody knows how long.
How long, right.
But she been here longer than any goddamn written document that we know of.
Yep.
She's been here longer than the patriarchal system. She's been here longer than the word God, which is a German word, Gut, which has nothing to do with divinity or a creator. It's just too much information out here to be stuck in certain paradigms. If you don't know how to survive in harmony with Mama, you got to go. I mean, there was a time when you couldn't just go to the store and it's just meat and shit just laying all up in the fucking store, all this unnecessary killing of animals.
No.
If everybody had to hunt for them damn selves or plant crops or whatever, ain't nowhere in hell all these many animals are going to be killed.
No. They ain't going to do it.
You take what you need and you give back.
Right, and keep it moving.
Balance.
Exactly. It is balance.
And as far as for which civilizations, I mean, if motherfuckers don't come fucking with people, people was all right.
Yep.
It ain't that the fucking civilization failed. It's fucking colonizers' time. That's what the fuck happened.
Yeah.
Like your house peaceful right now. If a motherfucker run up in your house with a gat and get to slapping you upside your motherfucking head, do that mean you failed? You may have failed to protect yourself, but do that mean you fall as a civilization or a being because somebody came and took from you? But
Indeed.
I digress.
Indeed, brother, indeed. All right, so, and just again, this is they were white and they were slaves. The Untold History of the Enslavement of Whites in Early America by Michael A. Hoffman II. All right, so I had to give him some play this week. All right. Charles Darwin's uncle, factory owner Josiah Wedgwood, owned a business that worked white children of 5 years of age in a chemical factory permeated with lead oxide, a deadly poison. Wedgwood acknowledged that the lead made the children very subject to disease, but worked them anyway. In 1723, the Waltham Act was passed, which classified more than 200 minor offenses, such as stealing a rabbit from an aristocrat or breaking up his fish pond, a crime punishable by hanging. Starving youths, 14 years old, were strung up on Tyburn gallows for stealing as little as one sheep. When their bodies were cut down, their parents had to fight over them with agents of the Royal College of Physicians who had been empowered by the courts to use their remains for laboratory dissection. The English historian William Cobbett stated in 1836, the starving agricultural laborers of southern England are worse off than American Negroes. When in 1834, English farm workers in Dorset tried to form a union in order to preserve ourselves, our wives, and our children from starvation, they were shipped into slavery in Australia for this crime. The situation of white factory workers was no better, Robert Owen declared in 1840. The working classes of Great Britain are in a worse condition than any slaves in any country in any period of the world history. Okay. So, right here, perfect example of scarcity being created when the agriculture, so pretty much the laborers on the farm in England was still starving. I don't know about you, but that's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy. But that happened up under a quote system. In the 19th century of England, tens of thousands of white children were employed as slave laborers in British coal mines. Little white boys, 7 years old, were harnessed like donkeys to coal carts in order to drag them through mine shafts. In 1843, white children aged 4 were working in the coal pits. In old English cemeteries can be seen edifices on gravestones, like one which reads, William Smith, age 8 years old, minor, died June 3rd, 1841. The root of the Holocaust against the white yeomanry of Britain lies in the history of the land swindlers perpetuated against them in the late 12th and early 13th century. So I looked up that word yeomanry. So it says a group who held and collateralized estates, land estates. So once again, you have people controlling the land, which is controlling the people, which is controlling the resources. But again, this is up under a quote, quote, bartering system, which is unequal playing field, because they're taking the most precious resource, which is the land, and telling you that you have to, quote, quote, pay via a bartering system to live on the land, to grow food from the land. That's just crazy to me for people not to make these logical connections and feel that we need a system. But I'm going to read on. As the lords obtained their rights against the king as formalized in the Magna Carta, they used them to expropriate the land rights of the yeoman by means of the writ of novel dissension, and what historian Rodney Hilton. Okay, so when I think of the name Hilton, I think of the hotel folks today in the Americas that own what? A lot of land. But okay, I'm just going to go back to this.
Hey, Sid.
Go ahead, brother.
I just want to point out the fact that everything that we, quote unquote, legally lost, it was by the stroke of a pen. They just decided to write up some shit, say, okay, well, you can have this, you can have that, you can have that, and wrote it on a piece of paper. And all of a sudden that make it so. I mean, as far as for a part of being in tune with nature, when you ate fruit with seeds in it and you shit it, the shit was the fertilizer and it provided more food. But that's your DNA in there with that. So you and the tree are one. The grass that's also being fertilized from that shit is taking in your DNA. Our ancestors get cut and bleed on this land. The blood is going into the soil. It's fertilizing the soil. The land is part of our DNA. We are one. Now, as far as for the frequency or the condition of the land, now, look at all this foreign shit that's being put into mama. Look at all these nasty motherfuckers that ain't supposed to be here. And we don't even know what the fuck you really are or where the fuck you really come from being put into my mama. I digress.
Indeed, brother, indeed. All right, okay. So as the lords obtained their rights against the king as formalized in the Magna Carta, and I'm going to pull that and read that shit again. We read that bullshit before, but just for some memory refresher, they used them to the land rights of the yeomen by means of the writ of novel and what historian Rodney Hilton described as other lawyers' traps. Okay, and he puts lawyers' traps into quotation marks. So even back then, he was pointing out the fuckery with the paperwork. But we're going to go ahead. Ownership was transferred to the lords. The people were allowed to remain on their ancestral land with something akin to a sharecropper status. So I'm going to say that again because I want you, indigenous Americans, who think that you are the descendants of slaves and that your family got all of them acres of land. As sharecropping, I want you to listen up. Ownership was transferred to the lords. The people were allowed to remain on their ancestral lands with something akin to a sharecropper status. So let's go back to the fact to show you how the fall just gets worse and worse once you deviate from universal natural law and start going into who owns what. So that monetary system got us in the position that we're in now. And the sick and the sad part about it, no matter how much evidence is brought forth, no matter how much that they still show you to this day, that the most precious commodity is the land and the people, the majority will still be hung up on a stinking ass monetary system. And these folks give less than a fuck about a monetary system because they control the land. And the indigenous people of the land, you were given the responsibility of being caretaker of the land. And somebody in the chat room, I forget who it was. I don't feel like scrolling all the way back up. And just forgive me for not, I think it was Scotty Saturn or it could have been Anthony Owens. But anyhow, made the point of the stewards, meaning, stewards of the land. And folks they still just don't get it. They do not get it because they're out of tune. They're still in the mindset that a sky daddy created them. Oh, but where you happen to reside on is called mother, that sustains life for you, but you don't value any of that. You value sky daddy, a male deity. I guess women came from their penis, so did men. The shit's just crazy and backwards. It's all the way crazy and backwards. And it's disrespectful. Sorry, go ahead, brother.
In case the family didn't know, the word matrix appears in the Bible 5 times. Matrix is the womb. Mother Earth is a water world. We are in the womb because we're vibrating at such a low frequency. You ain't grown enough to get out yet. You still in the womb. You still a fucking baby.
Still a baby.
You're a minor. That's why y'all think y'all minorities. You still in the womb. That's what the matrix is. It's the womb. Look at the etymology of the word. Look it up in the Bible and see how it's used. I'm just saying. I mean, we touch on certain things, but do we have the wholeness of everything? Are we only looking for things that benefit us or make us feel good?
Yep.
Have you accepted the darkness with the light to know that you are, quote, unquote, God and the fucking devil? As we sit up and admit we did it to ourselves, whether it's through the things that we created or whether we exiled people and they came back with revenge.
Right.
Whatever the case was, we're responsible for it.
That's right.
And until you know who you are and do your part, you going to keep fucking your bloodline.
Yep.
For that, you are responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we can try all this different shit, but the most effective thing that has ever worked in a voluntary system, as they say, you're being governed by your consent. If it's truly by your consent, you deserve to be fucked. Why would you keep participating in something that's fucking you up? And you just keep asking for more and more and more and more. And then you say you want change. Okay, so they switch up from the right hand and start busting you in your face with the law. And you like that for a little while. Then you say, I want change again, so they hit you with the right. And you like that for a little while. I mean, you, what do you know about you?
Exactly.
All the laws and everything don't mean shit if you don't know you. So you don't know what your part in any of it truly is. Or
right.
if it's something that you should be accepting. If you're accepting the part of the colonizer's bloodline and still wish to reap benefits, know that you are in the minority. You are of the 1% that is going to be purged. Not that I'm going to do it personally, but if you watch history, empires always fall. Okay, you fucks always manage to rise again somehow, but it's enough of us awake to make sure that shit ain't gonna happen no more.
Right. And the planetary vibration is rising anyway. So the purging will happen naturally through that because people will not be able to sustain it.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it really
people
is.
Looking at the fact that we are comfortable here, but they're not paying attention to the shit that's happening around the world.
Yeah.
To all these motherfuckers who've been coming over here, sending their people over here, stealing from us.
Yep.
Y'all paying for that shit. And I didn't do none of this shit personally. Neither one of my sisters on the call doing this shit personally, the motherfuckers.
Nope.
But when it's a mudslide or earthquake or a tsunami or this, that, or the other, and it ain't fucking hard, that's mama purging. You was wondering how she do it? How she's going to do it? She can let germ spores loose. Send a nice gust of wind.
Mm-hmm.
Wipe out miles of shit. What do you mean? How is mother going to do it?
Yeah, you tell that plasma that.
Oh yeah, that's hers too. I mean,
exactly.
When motherfuckers get struck by lightning is a lower density of plasma.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
I mean, there's all type of shit that happens. you eat something that your ass wasn't supposed to eat. And guess what? That's mama taking your ass up out of here. I've still yet to see God or the devil come kill anybody. All they do is get stupid motherfuckers to do it.
They're gang members.
You a stupid. Yeah, you a stupid motherfucker if you think you got the right to go kill somebody and take their shit because somebody wrote it in the book and said some invisible motherfucker in the sky said to do it. Take it how you want.
So Scotty Saturn, etymology of steward / steward / steward. So he's just given the different variations of the name steward. Is like a custodian of the land. Yes. So thank you, Scotty Saturn. I know I think it was Anthony Owens was the original one that dropped that in the chat room. But thank you so much for recapping that. All right. So again, now we should enter and understand where that term sharecropper status came from and what it really means. Okay, because I know a lot of folks in the South. I personally know a lot of folks in the South that has acres and acres of land that gets passed down from generation to generation. Matter of fact, the living generation, the land is broken up into different acreages, and it cannot be sold outside of the family. It has to be passed down. And when you ask them, well, where did your family get all of that land? Oh, they were sharecroppers. And, you know, some of them I can go into the conversation with, do you really know where that term sharecropping came from? Some of them, they're just not trying to hear it. It's still the slavery narrative, okay? So just real quick, high level, we're going to go into the Magna Carta because according to this, the Magna Carta gave the power to the lords. So out of the hands of the king into the power of the lords, which gave the ancestral land. Now just show you the mindset in this fuckery. How you going to give me something that's fucking mine? That I'm the steward or the caretaker of. So you needed a document, a Magna Carta, to take the power out of the king's hand to tell me that I could still reside on my ancestral land, which my folks have been on for thousands of years. So I need a piece of paper to tell me that. I need a bartering system to manage all of that. Oh, okay. Our folks was doing fine for thousands of years, and that's all across the planet. But, okay. But here we go with the Magna Carta. It is a charter. The charter is a contract. It is authority to do business. It is a charter of rights agreed to by King John of England at Runnymede near Windsor on June 15th, 1215. First drafted by Archbishop of Canterbury to make peace between the unpopular king and a group of rebel barons. It promised to protect the church rights, protection for the barons from illegal imprisonment, access to Swiss justice, and limitations on feudal payments to the crown, to be implemented through a council of 25 barons. Neither side stood behind their commitment, and the charter was annulled by Pope Innocent III, leading to the First Barons' War. Okay, so just some first couple of sentences proves my point of all of these contracts and call themselves owning the land. After John's death, the regency government of his young son, Henry III, reissued the document in 1216, stripped of some of its more radical content in an unsuccessful bid to build political support for their cause. At the end of the war in 1217, it formed part of the peace treaty agreement at Lambeth, where the document acquired the name Magna Carta to distinguish it from the smaller Charter of Forest, which was issued at the same time. Short of funds, Henry reissued the charter again. Okay, so short of funds, okay, but that's that motherfucking monetary system. Henry reissued the charter again in 1225 in exchange for a grant of new taxes. His son, Edward I, repeated the exercise in 1297, this time confirming it as part of England's statute law. The charter became part of English political life and was typically renewed by each monarch in turn. Although as time went by and the fledgling Parliament of England passed new laws, it lost some of its practical significance. At the end of the 16th century, there was an upsurge in interest in Magna Carta. Lawyers and historians at the time believed that there was an ancient English constitution going back to the days of Anglo-Saxons that protected individual English freedom. They argued that the Norman invasion of 1066 had overthrown these rights and that the Magna Carta had been a popular attempt to restore them, making the charter an essential foundation for the contemporary powers of Parliament and legal principles such as habeas corpus. Although this historical account was badly flawed, jurists such as Sir Edward Coke used Magna Carta extensively in the early 17th century, arguing against the divine rights of kings propounded by the Stuart monarchs. Both James I and his son Charles I attempted to suppress the discussion of Magna Carta until the issue was curtailed by the English Civil War of the 1640 and the execution of Charles. The political myth of Magna Carta and its protection of ancient personal liberties persisted after the Glorious Revolution of 1688 until well into the 19th century. It influenced the early American colonists in the 13 colonies and the formation of the American Constitution in 1787, which became the supreme law of the land in the new Republic of the United States. Research by Victorian historians show that the original 1215 charter had concerned the medieval relationship between the monarch and the barons, rather than the rights of the ordinary people, but the charter remained a powerful, iconic document, even after almost all of its content was repealed from the statute books in the 19th and 20th centuries. Magna Carta still forms an important symbol of liberty today, often cited by politicians and campaigners and is held in great respect by the British and American legal community. Lord Denning described it as the greatest constitutional document of all time, the foundation of the freedom of individual against the arbitrary authority of the despot. In the 21st century, 4 exemplifications of the original 1215 Charter remain in existence. 2 at the British Library, 1 at Lincoln Cathedral, and 1 at Salisbury Cathedral. There are also a handful of subsequent charters in public and private ownership, including copies of the 1297 Charter in both the United States and Australia. The original charters were written on parchment sheets using quill pens in heavily abbreviated medieval Latin, which was the convention for legal documents at that time. Each was sealed with the royal great seal made of beeswax and resin sealing wax. Very few of the seals have survived, although scholars refer to the 63 number clauses of Magna Carta. This is a modern system of numbering introduced by William Blackstone in 1759. The original charter formed a single, long, unbroken text. The 4 original 12 charters were displayed together at the British Library for one day, February 3rd, 2015, to mark the 800th anniversary of the Magna Carta. So real quick, we only have 90 seconds before we go into overtime. If you all want to continue to join us in the chat room, you have to dial 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. If you're not going to join us, I do want to send shout out to everybody in the chat room. Anthony Owens, Be Wise as Serpent, Eric 76080, God Thompson 42, Joseph Gibson, Kavia 039, and sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Mons Lydia Purple Peel, Sandy Red 01, and Scotty Saturn. Thank you all so much. As always, if you're not going to continue to join us online. Okay, on the phone rather. Okay, so I'm going to pause in case Sis or Brother Sean, you all wanted to put something on that. I know we went over that Magna Carta stuff before, but I did just want to read it again.
It says. Okay. Baptists, they are born again through being dipped in the waters. I mean, if that ain't being renewed through the womb, I don't know what the fuck is. I mean,
but you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost created everything.
Well, that must be one of their butt juice then.
Ooh, damn.
I prefer to look at it as divine waters of the womb.
Right.
You're being made new again.
And it just, I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But actually, considering that it's religion, what they're doing is encasing you in another womb that you have to grow your way out of again before you're in the macrocosm of the womb. That's putting you back into the microcosm of the womb. But I digress.
Yes, and I see you 661. I'm coming to you, sweetheart. It just really still just, and I mean, I know it is what it is. This patriarch system was created, but the fact that the very people that will not recognize the feminine, you pass through a feminine birth canal. So whether or not it was birth canal or it was C-section, you were inside of a woman, and you don't get the connection of the land and the woman. It just, wow, is all I can say.
Oh, when you test tube babies, that's an artificial womb.
True. True.
Either way, it's through the concept of the divine feminine that we
Indeed.
get here. The divine masculine,
Indeed.
we play our part when we're aware
Exactly.
and fully acknowledge the divine feminine. Until you can do that, you fucked.
Pretty
long
much.
Long as you think two dudes is responsible for your creation and the creation of everything. Two dudes. Come on. I mean,
Agreed.
okay, they say that it was, him, Jesus, they say he was always with God, right? All of them just chilling up in the sky, invisible and shit. Boom. We invisible, hanging out and shit. Bam. It's us.
Mm-hmm.
Now we go create some shit. Okay, that's what's up. We creating shit. It's me and my dad. Me and God. It's Jesus and God. We just creating some shit. Okay. But Dad, how do I get down there on the physical realm? Let me send an angel down there and impregnate this little girl. Bam. Immaculate conception.
But he
Through a
still
woman.
his woman, right?
Yeah.
Right. And last time I checked, every embryo starts out as feminine.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm just wondering, I mean, dude, if you're the creator of everything, the all powerful, the all knowing, the all doing, why you just ain't pop your ass down here? Blink.
Exactly. And why do you still need the woman to bring forth these souls?
In 9-month cycles.
Exactly. No, okay. All right.
So who's actually nurturing and nourishing and providing for and giving the thoughts and feelings? Who I mean, the whole time that child is learning from mama.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the child hear the father on the outside or other outside shit, but it's in tune with mama. Everything that mama
Right.
think, feel, taste, smell, that baby experiences.
Right.
Now, I can't say that I remember back that far where I actually remember all those sensations, but I damn sure don't remember nothing being in my daddy's nutsack. I just don't remember being inspired talking about, yeah, I'm going to go on over here and jump in this egg, and then I'm going to come out like, bam, Mac Daddy here.
Right.
I just don't think that was the plan as a sperm.
Right. And why would Sky Daddy not give that type of responsibility to his own kind? Why wouldn't he let the men birth the baby?
Well, I could tell you for myself, personally, haven't seen all my children be born. I'm a punk. I don't want to do it. I'm a punk. I don't want to do it.
Y'all can do it because...
I'm copping deuces right now. I'm a punk. I don't want no parts of that. I'm a punk. I'm a straight up punk.
Right. And, I do have to say I don't particularly like all of the style of the comic Tiffany Haddish. But one thing she said, she was on a radio interview and she told this man, "What are you talking about? You came from a woman." And these are her quotes. "Your pussy just dropped." So again, you had a clitoris, which is now a penis. So I'm just not going to say no more because you're not going to convince people because they go on faith.
Yeah,
they go on
hermaphrodite first.
Right. Right. So, 9 months to get out and you spend a lifetime trying to get back in, but your family gave you all of that. Oh, okay then. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, so let me go to 661. I know you've been so patient. 661, your line is open.
How you doing, sister?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing excellent.
It's so good to hear your voice.
I've been on here in a minute. I've been busy and I've been working and doing other things.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Working up my magic. I want to iterate this to the stories of Jesus were more of a maritime story, and that's why you call it the semen that goes into the woman. So remember in the Bible it said that they came out of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So everything coalesces, with the vessel of God.
Yep.
You are the vessel, meaning that you are in maritime jurisdiction. A lot of people don't see the riddle; they just see the religion part of it.
Right.
But it's actually a riddle telling you that you have to pay your 10% to board dry docks. So, say for instance, when you're in church, they tell you you are a vessel before God, and He is the vessel before you, or whatever they were saying in churches. But people don't understand. Like even when you have a relationship, are you traveling with currency? So the whole perspective of it does still come back to the woman, but they're so anal that they want to dispel the story through maritime. And the woman does carry the seed from the man, put it that way. So they do put it in their riddles, but they refuse to acknowledge it. Now they acknowledge it now. Like I heard one of the shows that they have these men dressing up like women. And that acknowledgement is a strange acknowledgement, but whatever acknowledgement it is, it's still a form of acknowledgement.
Right. Right.
It's very strange. It's very interesting how you would portray yourself with less dignity than you walked in the front door with. But, whatever, to each is his throne.
Right.
But people have to understand that the brother, let's go with this one. The gentleman that came on, the European guy that came on earlier, if he would have came more clear and honest about himself, there wouldn't have been no argument.
I totally agree.
And the debate of what he's saying, he's telling the same thing that the maritime doctors would teach you in maritime to put you back on your ship. That's why the brother came in earlier and he said that some of us left from the land, sold ourselves in the land, and went to sea. That's maritime. They're just telling you through symbolism, but doesn't mean it always is true. Even when they say Jesus walked on what?
Water.
Water. It's maritime, from land to sea. Sea to shining sea, as they would say in their old languages and their old hymns. Even when they, I think, was it the military songs where they're talking about going from, going to Tanzania.
The Tripoli and all that, yeah.
Tripoli. Yeah, they were telling you this is sea scripture. This has nothing to do with you. This is what we thrive off on. So until you understand that riddle, you're going to still be in those churches praising something that does not exist. But, yeah, we're going to make the money, though. Don't worry about that. We're going to send it to this tax company that we control. But we're going to do that. But thank you for coming in. Now give me your 10% every week, and you'll be broke by the end of the month.
Right.
But I just had to leave it with that.
It
makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that the man is a Baptist. Well, Baptist, what are you getting in? You're getting in water. You're baptizing in water. So he's under Maritime. He's under the Catholic rule. He's under the Inquisition. He doesn't even understand what that signifies. Maybe he does. Maybe he's playing the role of Maritime. But he's doing what all the others do. Instead of being an individual-minded person to research where these hymns and these stories and these fables came from.
Exactly.
So that's where the confusion lies between a religion and man. They always putting fables in, and they don't understand what the fables really signify. And I'm going to leave it like that.
Right. Indeed. And good to hear your voice, brother.
Good to hear you, too. Sean, I know you're over there going hard in the paint tonight. I understand you got to do what you got to do.
Ownership power.
Indeed.
And it's very logical what's going on, but people just have to wake up and see it and just stop playing.
Exactly. And agreed. All right. Indeed, Brother Keeson. Okay. And again, for the gentleman that came on with the Baptists, again, that's your business. Really, I hold no judgment against you if that's your plight. But I really got frustrated with him. But then I had to catch myself. I'm like, of course he doesn't get it because he's not operating out of natural law. As my brother just said, he's still under Maritime. So he does not even get the concept of his own divine inherent being. So, of course, it would make sense to him that there has to be some sort of monetary system. And it's interesting because, and Brother Sean, you can keep me honest here. Most of the people that we come in contact with who say that they're conscious, they're for elevation, this, that, and the third, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're not indoctrinated with religion. Once we start having discussions about how important the land is and not being concerned about monetary currency, it always still kind of boils back down to them still having some sort of religious belief. And whether that be your typical Christianity belief, whether that be your typical Islam belief, or whether even be your typical alien higher being creation. And again, those particular systems are set up for those particular entities and deities to capture your energy, to capture your vessel, and to control your vessel the way they want to control your vessel. So that means not only your vessel, but because of your faith and your belief, that also captures the energy of your unborn generation. And so when we talk to you all about breaking generational curses, breaking generation spells, we're talking about all of it. Not partial. Not, oh, well, you know what? Now, the system is cool because, you know, my particular ancestor was involved back up in the motherfucking day. I don't give a fuck if they were involved. And I've said this for myself personally. If my ancestors was personally involved with it, it was fucking wrong. It is against nature. Maritime law is not nature. It captures nature and ciphers the energy from nature through the generations. So, all right, that's all on that. But very, very good point, Brother 661. And that's why I always make the statement, you know, people want to talk about sovereignty. It starts in the mind. All right, so we went over the Magna Carta stuff. By the 17th century, even this tendency was being eroded by the introduction of the enclosure laws, which fenced off land heretofore farmed in common by the people as the landlords began to enforce their property rights. The net effect of enclosure, though it was at first slow in coming, was the eviction of the people from the land, a process begun towards the end of Elizabeth's reign, necessitating the first poor relief law for able-bodied, unemployed person known as the 43rd Elizabeth, after the year of her reign, which it had been enacted in 1601. So let's recap, because I want us to be clear about what this man is saying. So the people have been living off the land for thousands of years, their ancestral land, so that means that was their indigenous land. Then folks came in, conquering with their motherfucking paperwork and their charters, placing ownership of the land. It got to the point where the people were starving, so then they just did more paperwork to overthrow what the kings originally had put in place, for that to only eventually still left the people starving to the point where the queen had to give them poor relief. So once again, people still are not getting the connection and the importance of land. All right. All right, I got to back up and read that. This act transformed the old laws concerning community self-help based on voluntary local aims giving to a general tax or rate paying administered through the Church of England for distribution in local parishes. So again, the people got eventually thrown off the land. First, they were being taxed on their ancestral land. Then eventually they got thrown off their land, which made them poor. So that proves that the land is the provider. All right. As noble as the intent of the law may seem, it was little more than a token measure intended not to halt the flood of misery generated by the dispossession by the British yeomen, but rather to placate the conscience of those who could see all too well the emergence of a new pattern of starvation and poverty, previously known in Britain mainly in times of war or pestilence. All right, so to alleviate the symptoms of land disposition, 4 systems of bondage would evolve. Poor relief, okay, that's known as motherfucking welfare today. White slavery in the colonies, the workhouse, the factory system. They would all develop their special horrors, each justified by pointing to the evil intrinsic in the previous scheme to help the poor. Poor relief institutionalized the new stigma of pauperism and parasitism, which the ruling class attached to the impoverished condition of the dispossessed yeomanry as homeless and starvation increased. So I'm just going to recap again. So folks went from living off of their ancestral land to becoming starving and becoming homeless and depending on someone to give them relief. But folks still don't get the connection of the land and how the land takes care of us and we take care of the land. Oh, okay then. All right. The political economy of the Industrial Revolution. I'm on page 19. Enslavement overseas would not prove sufficient for the disposal of all Britain's surplus poor. However, the workhouse system instituted by such high church tourists as Sir Humphrey Mackworth flattered itself with the claim that the poor people of Britain were generally in the fix that they were due to their own folly and lack of virtue, and that their habits of thrift and industry could be instilled by imprisoning them in fortress-like buildings, thereby removing them from the perils of the press gangs, the assize courts, and the streets, where the purported classes would have to endure the spectacle of their starvation. So in other words, we don't want to look at y'all's poor, sick asses because you brought this shit on yourself. But I'm going to say again, but still to this day, people are not getting the connection with the land as the most precious commodity along with yourself. Not trinkets and the rest of this man-made monetary shit. All right, so I'm going to stop right there on that because I want to do a little bit more reading further to point out my points. I don't know, Brother Sean or Sis, if you wanted to put something on it. If not, we're going to jump back into our girl, White Trash, for a couple of more minutes. Hold on a second, family.
I'm good.
Sorry, go ahead, sis. I had to take a
I
sip
just
of
like
water.
to say one thing. First, you have to start with the base is the problem. And the base problem is some people decide they were gods and the right of kings to rule. That's the base problem right there. And then after that, you have to see what is their postulation as to who is the target of their machinations. And that was the people they thought that were animals. So they considered themselves not only gods, not only the kings to write the rule, they also considered themselves man and the rightful man to the planet. See, so that we have a little bit of lunacy going on. So this is, I mean, you can't control a nut. I don't care how you try. And all the laws they enacted was only for themselves. And the laws they enacted for the people were just perfunctory laws to make them feel better. And that's the Constitution. It's the same difference. I mean, it's no different than the right of kings to rule back in the day to what we have now. They have made laws that make them the top dog and everybody else subject to it. So that's the problem in a nutshell that I see that we have going on is lunacy. It is people who have a high regards to themselves, higher than it should be, and they have the guns, and they're trying to get the guns so we won't have the opportunity to protect ourselves from them and their lunacy. So, I mean, that book says, oh, this king did this, and this one did this, and this one did this. They had some kind of strange psychological issues going on, that they were better than everybody else. And that's the problem we have today. So anyway, that's what I was listening to, and I'm like, geez, somebody need to tell them something. But they're still doing it.
Yeah, and that's the good point. I'm sorry, but go ahead, Brother Sean. Go ahead.
The thing with that is people are allowed to think of themselves what they want. The problem is people going along with that bullshit. Just because the motherfucker come up to me talking about, oh, I'm king such and such, and you supposed to, nigga, get the fuck out of here. What did you get your ass away from me? What are you talking about? You king such and such, and I gotta get the fuck out of here. What you talking about? Get your dumb ass away from me.
Ooh, exactly. Exactly.
We just have to quit falling for this bullshit.
For the fuckery, exactly. Exactly.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and you know, and then those same people who, you know, I'm king such and so, I come from bloodline, blah blah blah. Okay, you know, blood, that's your thing. Do you, boo? That don't have shit to do with me, but do you? But they have the guys that their God, their game leader, granted them these titles and granted them the right to fuck with other people.
Right. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
So there you have the purge. Those type of entities will have to be purged from the planet.
Yeah, and you said it right, entities, plural. Mm-hmm.
They will be purged in the time frame that's allotted for the extinction. Because the extinction is going to happen. Even if he looks at the word rapture, that's a purging.
But see, I wasn't going to quote his particular belief system back to him because he should know it better than me.
Well, they don't. And that's the problem. Mm-hmm. They only give them certain chapters to read, certain verses they preach from, and you don't spend the time in an etymology dictionary, he would really, really, really benefit from an etymology dictionary, because when you look at the etymology dictionary, you need to figure out when the word was coined, what people group coined it, and what it actually means. And when you look at that, and you look at the Bible, you look at the word, and you look at the Bible, you say, oh, wow. But you have to be open for that kind of stuff, and not wanting to be controlled by the entities that put that little song in your head, because the scriptures are basically all about money. It's not about salvation. It's about finance, maritime law. The courts are maritime. Everything's maritime, because they put you in a vessel, like a vessel in a bottle, and they just twirl you around and let you go where they want you to go, because they keep moving that bottle. So it's all about the money. It's not about your soul, your car, and your bar. It's not about that at all. They want you to believe it's about that.
But it's not.
It's not. You can look in Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. It tells you what they did Jesus for. Because the people that were animals, monkeys as they say, they had to do something to calm them down. So they gave them Jesus. That's what it says in Ephesians. And then if that wasn't good enough, that they ingested that stuff themselves, they brought that poison over here. And they took the covenants and gave us their Jesus. And that's what's wrong with our people, is they don't understand their captors gave them that book. So that's my only problem. When you got to remember that somebody was insane when they wrote that thing. And it was insanity for their own pocketbooks.
Right. And I still say that it's also, encoded with spells.
Yeah, it is. It is. They didn't take us
and rituals and all of that. Because when, remember when we covered demonology, I thought it was just fascinating how the two gentlemen that were arguing in that particular book discuss many gods. They discuss higher gods, lower gods. They pretty much said, if you know that you are quote, quote, God in your own right, then nothing or no one has any jurisdiction over you. Now, this is coming out of the book of demonology. Sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
They also said that the quote-unquote witches had powers that wasn't given to them by God or the devil.
Yep. Absolutely. So, people can choose to believe whatever they want. And, again, I don't pass any judgment on them.
I just recommend they stop using fluoride, and then their minds.
Well, I'm just simply pointing out truth.
Yeah.
So people can either take it and do their research or not. But when people come to me with Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, when the earliest worship was goddess worship, and they built the Christian temples on top of those goddess temples, I'm like, people, do your research. But, everybody wants to keep representing their gang, and that's their business. But it's just sad for me that they are not in tune with things that they can feel, they can touch, they can see. That they have to look outside of self for self. That's the saddest part to me. But that's just me. All right, so we got just a couple more minutes. We're going to jump to White Trash, the 400-Year Untold History of Class in America by Nancy Eisenberg. Damn, y'all, we only in chapter 2. I'm telling you, y'all. Woo, she be bringing it. Okay, this one is the settlement of Carolina and Georgia, y'all. Whew. Surely there is no place in the world where the inhabitants live with less labor than in North Carolina. It approaches nearer to the description of Lubberland than any other by the great felicity of the climate, the easiness of raising provisions, and slothfulness of the people. So that's coming from William Byrd II, History of Divine Line, 1728. When Americans think of the renowned English Enlightenment thinker John Locke, what comes to mind is how Thomas Jefferson tactfully or tacitly borrowed his words and ideas for the Declaration of Independence. Locke's well-known phrase, life, liberty, and a state, was transformed by the Virginian into life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So I'm going to back up again. Life, liberty, and a state. But still, people are not making the connections of the importance of the land. When all of these folks that were coming over to the Americas and over the different parts of the planet, they very well understand and understood the importance of the land. So that whole phrase, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, no, it was life, liberty, and a state. Locke was the must-read of every educated man, woman, and child in the British American colonies, called the great and glorious assertor of natural rights and liberties of mankind. He was responsible for more than 2 treaties of government, 1689, which became the playbook of American revolutionaries. Most important for our present consideration, he authored the Fundamental Constitution of Carolina, 1669, which granted that every freeman in Carolina should have absolute power and authority over his Negro slaves. As one of his loudest critics exclaimed in 1776, such was the language of the humane Mr. Locke. Nor was this surprising, for Locke was a founding member and 3rd largest stockholder of the Royal African Company, which secured a monopoly over British slave trade. His relationship to Carolinian slavery was more than incidental. Okay, so again, let's just keep this in perspective, and shout out to Tachinus one for pointing out that the person that held the most slaves was in the South and was a melanated man. So do not think when she's speaking of Negro slaves that it's a white man holding all of those slaves. That is not the case. Okay? So Negro slaves, of course, that definitely, in my mind, that term Negro is the indigenous melanated people of the land. And the African, it was very little percentage of them. And I am saying this just by going through records, okay? Because if someone is African They are not called Negro. I'm going to say that again. If someone is from Africa, in those records, they are not called Negro. They are called African. All right. In 1663, King Charles II of England issued a colonial charter to 8 men, whom he named the absolute lords and proprietors of Carolina. Okay, so once again, there's that goddamn charter, which is a contract to do business on the land. Okay, so taking the land from the indigenous people, giving it to his boys and them. Because King Charles was a melanated man. They were given extensive powers to fortify, settle, and govern the colony. 2 years later, the first surveyor sized up the northeast part of the colony, Albemarle County, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, Carolinians, named after one of the proprietors, George Monsdale of Albemarle. All right. And so once again, I tell you all, go online and look at the charters of these different states and go back as far as you can. And when you get into the 1600s, you'll see it clear as day. The charter mapping out the land, who it was granted to, and the surveyors came in and they put the sketches on the land, let you know who has which particular territory and which particular land was still, quote, quote, Indian land. Let me see. Okay, I'm going to read this part. But it would take another powerful proprietor, Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, Earl of Shaftesbury, to fashion a more recognizable political design of his darling Carolina. Shaftesbury held a powerful position in London as head of Council of Trade and Foreign Plantation, and he encouraged Locke to join him in the colonial venture. Through Shaftesbury, then Locke secured the post of Secretary of the Council of Trade, and he became the private secretary of the Lords Proprietors, which obliged him to open a correspondence with agents in Carolina and to forward instructions to them. Though he never set foot on American soil, Locke was given the concocted title of Landgrave, and 48,000 acres of Carolina land was conferred on him for his services. With his intimate knowledge of the colony and his wide reading on the New World generally, Locke undoubtedly had a decisive hand in drafting the inherently fundamental constitutions, plural. The fundamental constitutions did more than endorse slavery. It was a manifesto promoting a semi-feudalistic and wholly aristocratic society. Much ink was spilled in devising a colonial kingdom that conferred favor upon title elite and manor lords. It was on the basis of a fixed class hierarchy that the precious commodity of land was allocated. So again, shout out to Nancy Eisenberg. She's continuing. We're only in the second chapter, pointing out that the commodity It's the land, the women, and the children. Each new county was divided into sections. 1/5 of the land was automatically reserved for proprietors, another fifth for the colonial nobility, and 3/5 for untitled manor lords and freeholders. Now again, this is indigenous people's land. So I'll pause in case Sister Brother Sean, you all want to put something on it. If not, I'm going to read a couple more things, and then we're going to give last thoughts because we got about 10 more minutes.
Well, like I said before, I think I mentioned it, it was written in their records, and I think it was Virginia, that every time they conquered, they thought they did it in the name of Jesus. I mean, these are the people that they're giving the orders to go conquer. It's not the people who gave the orders. The ones who did the conquering bought the doctrine. And they felt that the spoils of the fight belongs to them. And like Trump says, the way we got it is the way we're going to keep it. And they came with guns. So, and they try to tell you guys not to keep them. So, buyer beware.
Right. And over in Europe, they don't hold guns over in Europe.
No, they don't.
A matter of fact, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Then they have something they have to make laws to be able to search you. And I'm like, really? They gave them that much leeway over there? Because they gave those people over there better than we are over here. I don't know.
Well, again, and although it's the same system, but it does still stem back to consciousness, because over in the UK, they still have a queen, and they still seeing and bow. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. But that's the consciousness of the people.
Exactly.
So they would allow that bullshit to go on.
Yeah, they do. Weird.
Okay, so I'm not going to read anymore. We're going to do last words. Sis, do you have any last words for the family?
Well, when people call, one of the things they have to really realize is who we are and how long we've been talking about the systems of religion and the effect on mankind. So it's really not too bad that you don't know, but sometimes it's better not to go out there with your foot out there and somebody stepping on it. So this is about truth, and you have to understand that truth does not mean somebody else's doctrines, because man-made doctrines are the death of mankind, like religion, as he says. And so I feel for the man because he doesn't understand what this show is all about, and the only way he can find out, he's going to have to keep listening.
Right. But I do respect him for at least calling in his defense, because that took a lot of guts for him to call in, to express his beliefs. So I don't have any ill will towards him at all. He has the right to his beliefs. It just saddens me still that folks don't get the natural connection to the land and just their soul in general. But that is not for me to make somebody to, believe or get anything. That is for their own soul journey to go through whatever they need to go through. So that's his business, but I'm not a Christian. I do not subscribe to any of that doctrine, Christianity, Islamism, none of it.
No.
Scotch Daddyism, none of it. So just to be clear, and nobody's going to change my mind over that, like I'm sure I will not change that gentleman's mind over his belief system, and that's okay too. Okay, Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Yeah. I'm not the definitive authority on anything other than myself.
Exactly.
I'm the author of my journey. I'm writing this script. I'm God. I'm the devil. I'm the 76 Goetia. I'm the 100 Demon Parade. I'm all of that. I don't fear shit because I created. Now, if you can't understand that, you don't really get it. And you have no idea what's about to happen. Believe what you will. But you gonna know. And you're not gonna like it. I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what I've seen. You don't have to believe me. It's already happened. You're just waiting for it to happen.
Right. Indeed, brother. I do want to thank, once again, the chat room. I want to thank my family of callers. I thank you for calling in, my first-time callers as well, as Brother 832, Brother 646. Thank you all. Thank you, family, for being with us on this journey. We truly appreciate you. Now, next week, I will not be on the air. I am taking this opportunity to relax and sleep. I will not be on the air Thursday. We'll pick back up the following week. So thank you very much. Love you very much. Thank you to my co-hosts, Sis Sandra and Brother Sean. Love you two very much. Thank you for doing what you do. So we're gonna rock out with Andre 3000, the Scot, or part of his heritage is being a Scot, called Vibrate Higher. So peace and love, family.